We help busy over 40s get in shape in 30 days with only 30 minutes of kettlebell training per week. Grab your free ebook to find out how we do this. Type yes in the comments or check the link in our bio or description.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have another powerful episode of the Kettle Nights podcast, and I have with me my main man, Pat Damiano. He's a coach, and I consider him also an Instagram celebrity because when he reached out to me, he was like, hey, yo, I saw your podcast, and I like what you do, and let's have a conversation. I checked him out, and I was like, this guy knows his stuff, and I was like, ooh, this guy also has a lot of followers, awesome. And but the reason why I invited him is not because he reached out, but because I checked out his stuff, and I think Pat is solid. And I always like to talk to folks who are solid and see where they come from. But I also have a ulterior motive, and that is we are close to hitting 1,000 subscribers on the Kettle Nights podcast channel. So that means as soon as we hit 1,000, we're about to rake in the Joe Rogan money. So I can't wait. I can't wait to have Pat share this podcast on his socials, and then we crack the 1,000 subscribers. But hey, Pat, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So, Pat, we always do the same thing. Introduce yourself, where you're coming from. How did you get started with fitness? How did you get started with kettlebells? How did you get started as a coach? And how did you build your Instagram following or just a following in general? So the stage is yours.
Cool. So I'm 30 years old. I'm coming from New York. So I live just about 30 minutes outside of New York City. So I've been here basically my entire life. Okay, let's take it back. So I started getting into fitness. I was about 13. I was a freshman in high school, so ninth grade. I know you guys have different schooling systems, stuff like that. So I was in ninth grade. I just started working out to try and get a little stronger and better at baseball. I had no idea what I was doing. You know, I was just like, I don't know, curls, sit-ups, no squats, actually, just traditional.
Like many of us, disco bumper. Yeah, that's what's up.
That's exactly what it is. I was like, I don't know what else to do. You know, this is 2000 and this is 2007, so like there wasn't as much information. So I just started working out a little bit. You know, started to really enjoy it, and then slowly got into the like, okay, like even if I didn't play baseball, I would still keep working out. So really just kind of took off from there. So that was, I'd say from 13 to 18, I was doing your traditional bodybuilding type of stuff. 19, I discovered CrossFit, really drank the Kool-Aid hard.
Ooh, interesting.
Loved CrossFit. I'd say 19 to 22 or 23 was like breathe, eat, sleep, die CrossFit.
Wow.
And then, CrossFit introduced me to Olympic weightlifting. So then I got into Olympic weightlifting. Probably about 22 or 23 to about 25 or 26 years old. Love that. That's like kind of my true love. I love Olympic weightlifting so much, which is probably what led me into enjoying kettlebells. So then I retired from Olympic weightlifting, had kind of some injuries / was starting to build my career more and couldn't dedicate as much time to lifting as I wanted to. And I'm kind of either all in or not at all. So stepped away from that. And then I did for 2 or 3 years, I kind of just did a mishmash of like not that programmed, or I just did everything kind of under the sun, nothing really structured at all. Was kind of trying to focus on building my business. So like my fitness wasn't my top priority. And then 2000, what are we in? I was 28. We're in 2021. I started jujitsu. And so I got into jujitsu, and at the time I was kind of doing like a bodybuilding split type of thing, push, pull legs, all that stuff. And then I started doing jujitsu, got completely destroyed on the mats, like not just because I had no idea what I was doing jujitsu wise, but like stiff, the typical bodybuilding stuff. I was stiff. I was like strong, but not like life strong. My conditioning was crap, like all of that stuff. So I was like, okay, I've used kettlebells basically my entire life since I started working out in some degree. That's basically swings and maybe some carries and goblet squats. So nothing too extreme. I had known about on it and like steel clubs and maces and that type of stuff. So when I started jujitsu, I was like, I got to switch it up, maybe go back to this like unconventional style of training, because I know that's big in the martial arts community, specifically kettlebells. Kind of just did a mix of that stuff throughout the next couple of years. Really liked it, and it transitioned very well into jujitsu, which was what I was kind of focusing on at the time. So I started just doing more and more of that stuff. And I say beginning of this year, so 2023 is when I was like, you know what, I'm going to really dive into the kettlebells hard. Again, they've always been a part of it, But that's when they went from like maybe 20 to 30% of my training. And then the beginning of this year, they turned in like 85% of my training. And I've been kind of hitting the kettlebells very hard basically this entire year. But they've always been a part. Like I swung my first kettlebell when I was like 14, like 15, 16 years ago. I still have the first kettlebells I ever bought with my own money when I was like 16 years old in my parents' basement collecting dust. But I still have them. Like I love to tell the story of like when I bought those, they gave me a pamphlet, like a 3-page pamphlet. It was like, here's a swing, get up, single arm swing, and I don't even know what else to say. But like, no, YouTube was like a baby. No Instagram, Facebook was not what it was now. No TikTok. It was like, here's a piece of paper. Here's 5 exercises. And so I like to tell that story because they've been part of my training forever. In varying degrees, but they've always been in the mix in some sort of degree.
So it was always like the kettlebell accompanied you through these transitions. So it's always like, hey, it's part of the routine, but it was never like front and center, right?
Yeah, I never really had any sort of like plan with them. They were always just kind of thrown into the mix.
And how did you discover the kettlebell back like what's 2007, something like this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually don't know. So I was really into fitness overall. I don't know how I specifically discovered the kettlebells, but I do remember this is the gym that I was in, my high school gym, and they had like, you know, a regular 45-pound plate or 35-pound plate, and it had a handle in the middle. So I would do kettlebell swings with that. My feet are like super wide out.
You have to,
like,
of course.
Like, to the point where I like bashed the back of my knee once. It was terrible, but I remember doing kettlebell swings like that. I don't know. You know, now that I have no idea how I discovered them.
And even the swings with the weight plates was something like you saw somebody else do, and then you tried it yourself.
I must have, because at the time my high school gym did not have kettlebells. But a gym I started going to down the street did have kettlebells. So like I started having like a day where I would just do them again. Looking back, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But I don't know where I discovered that. That's a good question. I wish I knew that. Maybe I saw them in like a Men's Health magazine or something like that. Maybe YouTube, 2007, YouTube was a thing. So I might've seen it there, but you know what I might've seen? I think the movie 300 came out around that time. Like right when I think that was like kind of the mini birth of CrossFit, and everybody's like, oh, these guys did like rope climbs and kettlebell things. I think that might have been it.
And they were farmers walking, running with heavy kettlebells, and my God, that's the 300. That's like two. Hey, let's check that out. When did that movie come out? 300?
It might have been around 2007 because I was a freshman in high school, and it was like, oh, these guys are jacked. I need to be one of these guys.
2006, the birth year of YouTube. Look, oh my God, that's 2006. That's such a testosterone-filled movie. It's like
I still watch that movie. I'm like, I gotta go work out.
When you watch that movie and you are a woman, you probably turn into a man. That's what's up. This movie hits it from all angles. It's and Gerard Butler's performance. It's I remember that scene. When the guy standing when the 300, they're standing in front of this other crew, other members of I don't know what kind of army who want to join them, and then Gerard's like, "What's your profession?" And the guy says, "I'm a potter." "What's your profession?" I'm a smith." "What's your profession?" And he says, "What are we?" Oh, it's like, oh my God! It turns you. I love this, man. I get goosebumps running down my spine. I love that movie.
Still, when I watch that movie, like I have like a string of like, super extreme like guy movies. That anytime my wife's away, I'm like, all right, I'm putting this on. It's like that Troy,
Terminator.
What's it called? Yeah, exactly.
Two, Terminator 2 and 1. After 2, it's the Terminator franchise stopped at 2 for me. It's like that's it. But oh my God, so it's 2006, and it's funny that we talk about this because it's actually when YouTube got started, when it turned into, I think it was like 1.5 years later or even 2 years later, Google bought YouTube because they immediately recognized the potential of it. Yeah. It was so fast.
I didn't realize it was that early.
I don't know. But it was really fast. I think Google recognized its potential seconds after its inception, so to speak.
Wow.
And 2000. And I remember I wanted to do a reaction on the 300 workout.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't know if I should do it. But then now that you're bringing it back to the forefront of my mind, I love this. So that's probably how you got started. Because, I have so many folks on the podcast be like, yo, it was Pavel. Or it was this, it was that.
No.
And I have a similar kind of experience like you have. I saw it somewhere floating around because I was in the fitness space. And funny that you tell the story with the weight plates. The first time I saw a swing was a guy, his name is Felix Baumgartner. He was the guy who jumped from space, from the Rappel Stratus thing in 2012. And he jumped from space, was the first time YouTube ever went live, and I was part of this. I remember this.
Wow.
I was in Roswell, and that's when everything went down, and YouTube went live for the first time. And when he jumped from space, they got 3 million viewers, live viewers, and then they had to do another attempt, and then it was like 5 or 6, and it catapulted Felix, the guy, into the stratosphere. For a short second, this guy was famous like Joe Rogan today. Right? It's really crazy. And I saw him at my gym when I worked at a gym instructor back then. I saw him do swings with weight plates. He grabbed a smaller one, and he was doing like hand-to-hand style swings. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, yeah, it's like kettlebell stuff, blah, 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 but you guys don't have kettlebells, so I'm using weight plates. Man. So you have a similar story.
Wow,
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
I love this,
that's
man.
Awesome.
So you pivoted from so you went through a lot, right? It was like, hey,
I've done
bodybuilding,
everything.
CrossFit. And why did you, what was the biggest, what did you like most about CrossFit?
So I think at the one, it was like the thing at that time. Like it was still
it's
pretty new. It was 2013, so it was really like new in its inception, and it was the new, and it was just the thing. And what I always say is I just like fitness. I'm not married to any sort of like scheme. I like fitness, and I like what keeps me interested. So like it was a new thing, and I was like, cool, let me give this a shot. I've always been pretty athletic, so like I kind of was a natural. I don't know how to say it. That sounded like a jerk, but like I picked up on a lot of CrossFit stuff, and then I think it was just kind of like what kettlebells turned into. It's like I like, with bodybuilding, there's not really any skill learning, right? It's like if you could do a bicep curl, you could basically do a bicep curl. So I like learning how to do double unders and muscle ups, and like learning how to clean and jerk and snatch. And for the first time, CrossFit was basically the first time I like actually touched a barbell in my life, and in a real type of way. So I was like learning how to back squat and deadlift and do all of that stuff. So it was learning how to do those. And then like I just like I like dying in workouts sometimes. So like I just do. I know it's not right. I don't do it all the time, but CrossFit does that. And I really enjoy just like pushing. So I think and of course the community, same reason why I had so many other people like CrossFit. But I just really like fitness. It was a new thing. It was, it was cool to learn a bunch of different things, and it just kind of hooked me. I really enjoyed it.
It's just crazy to think that this was just a short while ago. It's
Right.
like the inception of, I always call it the modern renaissance of kettlebells, with Pavel and John Duquesne starting RKC. That's like the 2000s. Then you have social media, YouTube and stuff starting. I mean, Instagram was like 2011, I think. Then 2006, you have YouTube coming up, which it builds this melting pot. And then you have 2010, 2011 when CrossFit got started, and it exploded around the world. And that's like a few seconds ago.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's the crazy thing about it, right? We're so in that modern era. We're at the precipice. It's not something that we've done for hundreds of years. It's something that is so brand new to everybody. And that's what I loved about the kettlebell. I think there's so much potential around it, and so much to discover, that it's probably one of the reasons why I didn't decide to go for either one or the other. But I was like, let me just dive in and find out everything that I can and get to the bottom of this thing, because I think we still have so much potential and so much to learn about it. And I love what you're mentioning about the skill aspect. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why the bodybuilding is one thing, but as soon as you pick up something that requires a little bit more coordination, it takes your body into a different level.
Yep.
Right.
It's just so much more engaging that way.
Engagement. I was looking for that word.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's it's the same reason people start enjoying jujitsu or basketball or any sport or CrossFit is it's fun to learn skills. It just feels good, right? Like, I remember when I was Olympic weightlifting, like there would be times I would spend like 25 minutes just snatching with an empty barbell. It wasn't a workout, but it was like I want to get better at this. And there's something about that that like leads people into getting more into things. Like I was saying with bodybuilding, there's not much. I know there's you can get really deep and there's intricacies of like how to do a bicep curl the right way, but there's just something different about like, okay, I'm learning how to kettlebell clean today. Like, okay, maybe I didn't go up in weight, but the kettlebell didn't hit my wrist as hard as it normally does. Or I felt like I was using my legs a little bit more. And that kind of leads into a little bit more of I forget the word, like people, it sticks with people a little bit more because it's not just, did you do more weight? Did you do more weight? Did you do more weight?
Oh, that's a good point.
Or like if you're a bodybuilder, you look in the mirror, do I look better? Do I look better? Do I look better? It's like, if that's your only measurement, it can get a little frustrating. But I might use a 24-kilo kettlebell if I'm like fairly new, let's say for 6 weeks, and I might not touch anything else. But okay, it felt like my legs, let's just say I'm doing snatches, right? It felt like my legs were working a little bit more on that one. I did better with the hinge this time. I kept the kettlebell closer. It didn't bash my wrist. Like there's so many things you can work on that you might not be doing more weight, but you're getting better. And that
Skill
is
practice. Yeah.
skill practice. People like that. That's again, like I was saying before, that's a big reason why people enjoyed CrossFit so much. It's because they're learning different things, learning how to do things. It's the reason people stay after class for 10 minutes, like practice double unders. They want to learn and be able to do something and say, I couldn't do that. And now 3 months later, like I'm crushing it.
Well, and here's the thing. I just read a statistic today because I was replying to a comment who shared an interesting perspective, and the video that I was the comment that he wrote was under the video where I said, and now I actually didn't say this, but it has to turn into a title. It's like the Turkish getup is now called the circus getup, right? And in that video, I said, hey, it's a circus exercise. It's a cool exercise, but I don't think it stands nearly close to the most bang for your buck exercises like a swing, a farmer's carry, a clean, a press, a squat. Like, and I talk about regular people, not the nuts like you and me,
Right.
where we go balls to the walls with everything, and we would do a Turkish getup with a barbell and stuff, right? Yeah, and that's actually where it comes from to a certain extent, right? But here's the thing: the guy commented something like, "Yeah, but he mentioned something about skill." And while I agree that the learning a skill can be a cool thing, we also have to recognize the fact that only 1 in 5 adults train. So that's a very abysmal statistic. So if we initially like do some oversharing or an overload of information of a skill-based exercise for people to learn once they get started, I think they're turned off immediately, right? It's like, and it's way too much. It's way too much, right? And I see this now because I am now taking the role of a student in a different part of my business where I feel overwhelmed sometimes. Where I'm like, oh my God, okay, metrics, analytics, this and that, that's way too much, right? And it's my initial thinking, and then I get this uncomfortable feeling inside my belly. Wow, this really grinds me outside of my comfort zone, and I don't know if I want to go that far because I think it's too much for me to handle, right? So these are the thoughts that I had, and I'm really grateful that I had these thoughts because then I can put myself into the shoes of our clients or prospects who are like, hey, I don't trust myself. I don't even trust if the thing that you're showing me can help me. So, and now you are overloading this bunch of information that requires so much of me to learn. I'm not sure. So while I agree that skill is something that keeps people at it, after they've gotten some basics down pat, it can also be an overload of information. What do you think?
Oh, I completely agree because me and you sound like we're in similar scenarios in our business where we're like starting to take the next steps of like getting outside of just being a trainer and like creeping into because you're taking your marketing course. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So like I have a business coach too, and he's like giving me tasks and like taking courses too to like try and learn different sides of it. And in a very good way, it's like, okay, now I'm the student and now I understand like this can be very overwhelming. And that's why like just to use our example, it's like there's some clients I don't really do kettlebell snatches with because they're in twice a week and they don't really care.
100%
But I'll do swings and goblet squats, and then the people who I do know like want to do a little bit more advanced stuff, we're going to work on that. So it's always about just kind of mixing and matching which ones they want to do, and then like you'll get the people who you're done with their session. They might stay for 5 or so minutes after and practice some snatches because they want to. And it's not something I'm going to be forcing on people. You kind of have to play, at least in terms of like in-person clients, is playing with that, seeing if they're the type of person that wants to practice a little bit more. Because some people just want to come and work out and leave.
Exactly.
And that's our job.
And that's such a vital point, that if you don't do this profession where you work with where you work with people who don't watch YouTube for fitness, who don't know all these names that you and I know. And I mean, YouTube for fitness, that's one part. Let's take it even a step deeper. Kettlebells, like they don't know none of these names that we know. And actually they do not care at all. But these people also are enticed by the results and the transformations that they're getting thanks to this powerful tool, if you explain the method right. And they're like, wow, I think this can help me. But then it's not about, I love that you mentioned the snatch. Same here. It's like with most of our clients, if we do snatches, we do half snatch. And we do them alternating. Yep. It's like one up, boom, rack, and then you're switching sides. You give your leading arm time to rest and relax, and then you're switching sides, and then you do it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with each side, right? And it's not nowhere close to what, for example, a sport guy would do in a set of 10 minutes or even 5 minutes, where it's 2 minutes with one side. And I love what you're saying. We have these clients too. It's like, hey, let's push them a little bit. They stay after class. They have questions. They want to learn more. They write emails. They're more into it. And while you have these people, I believe they are rather far and few in between, unless you have this as your niche, like the hardcore fitness folks who want to focus on kettlebells exclusively. I got this. But most of the time, and I think that's also, I love that you're mentioning the business aspect of it. Most of the time, especially where the money lies, if you want to do this for a living, you will train regular people. And then, I love what you're saying. It's the job of the coach to give them I love this word, most bang for your buck or high return on investment exercises.
Yeah, because they're, you might work out 5 or 6 hours a week, but they're working out maybe 2. Maybe. And then
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always say this too, is like I use this analogy, like me and you probably think about fitness 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, right?
We live and breathe this stuff.
Right, we live and breathe it. Like my client might come in twice a week and those are the only 2 hours they think about fitness because they don't follow any fitness people. They're like, they don't really care that much about what they eat. Like I'm thinking about how much I eat. I got 6 clients. What am I gonna do with my next client? Content. I follow this person, like it's 24/7.
Exactly.
So like, to me, it's like, yeah, cool. We're gonna kettlebell snatch, do this. Like they don't care. Right. And when it comes to training people in person, like you said, it's the regular person. You might get 1 out of 25 people that are like, I'm going to stay after and practice my snatches. That's not going to happen for the most part because they're just coming to you to get in better shape and feel a little bit stronger and a little bit better about themselves.
Exactly.
And something I've had to always like kind of like catch myself on sometimes is like, it's always good to like you said, be the student in the situation is in a different scenario. Right. My clients aren't coming to me to become me. They're coming to me because I can get them. I'm going to make up a number there. They're coming to me because I can get them halfway there, right? Or 60, whatever percentage they want. I'm just kind of making up a number. It's the same reason you're taking that marketing course is you don't want to be the greatest marketer in the world, but you want to go from here to there.
Exactly.
So I'm going to learn from the best person. It's like, I respect everything he's saying. He might tell me 10 things and like 2 of them apply well to me. So I'm going to do that because that's where I want to get because I have other things I need to worry about. Right?
Man, there's so much truth bombs, man. 100%.
When you train regular people, that's what happens.
Exactly.
They don't want to be you.
You know what? Recently, somebody said something. He wrote it in the comments. And currently, in our marketing course, we have to do. I love it. He calls it the Halo strategy, where he says, you want to understand your dream avatar or your dream client from what they think, their problems, how they feel, especially related to their situations where they are. And then when you understand them very well, you go through that Halo strategy where you talk to your clients, you do customer feedback, you do client feedback, you do video feedback or video reviews, you go through the forums, you go through the websites, you go through Amazon, you see what people are struggling with, you go, because I love what he said, is that sometimes people share online what they don't even share with their spouse. So you see their intricate problems and pain points, and you want to understand them. And once you understand them, when you write copy, you write an email or write an ad, I had this so many times where people come up to me and they're like, man, you're talking like you're inside my mind. So that's what we're doing with the Halo strategy. And recently somebody commented on a YouTube video, and I immediately took it into the strategy. He said, I want to reach a level of fitness I'm happy with. And I'm like, that's a great metric, right? That's not level of fitness of X, Y, and Z. Or deadlifting, like you know, on YouTube, I want to reach my 500-pound deadlift. I want to reach my 500 muscle ups, or whatever have you. These numbers and these ideas are a level of body fat. But how about this? Hey man, I just want to achieve a level of strength I'm happy with. That's such a powerful statement.
And that's 98% of the people looking for a trainer or coach. Most people who want to deadlift 500 pounds are so dedicated, they're going to figure it out themselves.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I've made like a couple of videos about this. That's a joke. Like, you've been training people forever. Nobody's ever come to you and said, I want to be the strongest person in the world. No one.
Yes.
They haven't.
Imagine.
They're like, because someone who's that into it is like, I'm going to go to the gym 6 times a week for an hour and a half, and I'm going to do this myself because I love it. If you want to deadlift 500-600 pounds, you love this. And maybe you get a coach when you're like, okay, I've gotten to here and I want to like go to the powerlifting nationals, whatever it is. That's different. But if you're just like, I just want to be in shape, like that's when you go. Those are people who go to trainers. So that's where there's so much disconnect in the social media world with people like us who train regular people, who have conversations with regular people and have 100%. For 5, 10, 15 years. So we say this, and then someone's like, that's not the most optimal way to do this. And it's like, I'm not talking to you. I'm not. You're not my avatar. I'm talking to the 42-year-old dad who has 3 kids, works a lot, and he's like, I just need to do something 3 days a week for 45 minutes.
Exactly. I just need somebody to hold my feet to the fire so that I can stay accountable, because I fall off the bandwagon, because I started like 10 times. I signed up for 10 memberships in the last 10 years and left after 2 weeks. These are true pain points where people are experiencing like, man, I want to get this down pat, but the problem is I just can't seem to get a grip of it. And that's like, if we know that 1 in 5 people trains, that's the reason why I get these comments. And then I reacted like this in a scientific way. I'm like, listen, I know you love to get up. That's awesome. And funny thing is, he commented, he said, well, I have learned the swing, the clean and press, and the snatch in a matter of days through videos. Awesome. But it took me weeks to learn to get up. And my reply was like, maybe, just maybe, your time would have been better spent mastering swing, clean, and snatch, because these are exercises that take you, even if you have the initial learning curve down pat, they still take you a lot of time to master. And I would opt in for the I would say that a swing, snatch, and clean gives you more return on investment.
For sure. And
so since you're not in that world, and since only 1 of 5 people train, we have to give them the most bang for the buck. But here's the cool thing. That's what I love about this YouTube channel, man. You get thousands of people, comments from around the world. Then somebody else said, Gregory, man, I hear you, I feel you, I understand you, but sometimes we can also get caught up in this most bang for your buck, highest return on investment spectrum, where we sometimes lose sight of what's fun. And I'm like, you're right. For example, we have one set of battle ropes, and actually, I don't think the battle rope is special. It tires out your arms, your biceps. You're dying. Awesome, and it makes you feel like you're crunching, but at the end of the day, it's your weakest muscles giving up after a couple of seconds, right? Okay, we got it. Then slam balls, I like them a little bit more, because especially the heavy ones, I always say these are uncomfortable weights, so it's like life. It's uncomfortable to handle. That's good if you want to handle something that's uncomfortable. But these are not most bang for your buck, highest return on investment exercises, but they light up the sessions.
Fun.
And they're like, let's do something completely different for a couple of minutes. Let's go away from the prowler, the swing, the snatch, and let's just do some farmers walks. I love farmers walks, or overhead walks, which again are most bang for your buck exercise. But sometimes it's just like, sometimes man,
those.
yeah, we need those. But sometimes mixing and matching and lighting up the mood. Let's do something completely different is also something that makes sense, right?
Yeah. I used to train kids a lot. I don't as much anymore. And I was training, I think he was 12 or 13 at the time. And he was doing medicine ball slams. His mom came in and was like, what does that do? And I was like, he's 12 and likes throwing shit. Like, it's the most fun thing in the world for him. So, and he's clearly out of breath. It's difficult. Like, that's why we do it, because it's fun. So, like, pair up a medicine ball slam with a farmer's carry. So you get both. It's like eating your broccoli and having your dessert at the same time, right? That's kind of what the analogy I'll use with some clients. It's like, because we have to do the things that actually work. Right? We have to do the squats, the rows, the presses. We have to do that. You can't get away from that.
Yes.
But it's balancing. It's like it's if we made a pie chart, how much percentage is the most bang for your buck? How much percentage is fun? Very dependent on the person and very dependent on the coach. But you have to do some things that are fun. And some people, like my wife is this way. She does the same workout every single day, every week for like 8 weeks in a row. And then after a while, she's like, okay, you can switch it up, because I write her workouts. But she's super analytical. It's like, she's like, I need the same thing every day. That's what keeps me in line. So it's like not that much diversity, not that much fun, but it works for her. But then there's other people who need to be a little bit more fun, a little bit more all over the place, which is fine. Because like you said, 1 out of 5 people train. If that's what gets you in, go ahead. Do cartwheels for an hour for all I care. Just move.
Exactly.
But it's that pie chart of like how much fun do we put in versus how much bang for your buck. And sometimes we just have to balance that pie chart out based on the person and, again, like the coach. But yeah, like you said, there's some things that are just fun to do, so we throw them in there because you have to enjoy this. This is a leisure activity. Like, everybody should be doing fitness, but everybody does it on their free time. It's not paying their bills. Like, it should be something you enjoy doing. We're not going to the Olympics. You have to like it. That's my whole thing. My whole philosophy is you have to like this. If you don't, you're doing something wrong. If you have the days where you're like, damn, I really don't want to train, that's going to happen. But if every day you're like, oh God, it's arm day again. Like, this is boring. Like, you do something different.
Rich Piana, 8-hour arm day again. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God, Rich Piana. That's a throwback. Wow,
that's a throwback. Man, yeah, and it also always hits me in the feels when I think about this guy and his name, because he was so, man. This is like we talked about right before we got started with the recording. We talked about Simon Sulek, right? Simon.
Yeah.
And how he's like.
Oh wait, no, it's Sam. Sam Sulek.
Sam.
I was wrong. Yeah, I said Simon before you.
Yeah,
right.
I said Simon. I said Simon. And
I was like, yeah.
Yeah, you confirmed it. Yeah, Simon. Yeah. Sam. So
Sam, okay.
And we talked about. That Sam is bringing back the old school YouTube. At least that's one of the most like comments. And the thing is, with Rich, it was just like that. It was like camera, him talking. Good morning, everybody. Right there. and then a lot of cuss words, a lot of. But yep. I think he was the authenticity. Even though we know he had some oil, which wasn't that authentic. But this guy was so authentic, and I think everybody loved this guy. Yeah. And everybody was like, wow. And he had some really, really gems to share. Yeah. That truth, right? Oh my God. And then when he passed, it's like 2017. Yeah.
Wow, that was that long
2017. Ago? Yeah, I don't know why I remember this date. It was 2017,
yeah.
You know?
What's interesting about that too is because you bringing that up reminds me of like the first YouTuber. Do you know Scott Herman?
Oh, Scott Herman Fitness?
Oh yeah, dude.
Of
Scott.
Course, man.
Scott was my first introduction to like an influencer, right? He was like, at that time that wasn't even a term. What was interesting about those guys, because same thing, like, dude, he was in a gym. It was probably 1 a.m. because the gym was closed. It was just his friend on probably some shitty camera, falling around. He's doing like the entire set. Every grunt, and then they just like chop a little bit and go to. It was so no editing. It was great, but like what was also cool was like they weren't getting paid back then. Like you can make bank on YouTube now, yes. But those guys just did it because they liked it.
Man,
you're always a little more respectful.
Oh, exactly, man. You're bringing you open up a can of worms when you talk about YouTube, man. I think with Scott, it's 100% right. if you do something that you love, and I mean, first of all, we have to backtrack. These guys were revolutionaries. I would love to talk to these guys and ask them, did you anticipate that one day you'd be making really a lot of money with this, and that you can retire your normal job? And I would assume that most of them would say no. I just loved it. I filmed it, and then maybe it took off a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm onto something. And it's another example would be Marcus Brownlee. This guy started in 2006. He's a tech YouTuber.
Okay.
And this guy, you have to imagine, this guy, he just drove the Tesla truck.
Oh, nice.
And he did a video. I think he was one of the earliest ones now who did a video on a Tesla truck. It hit like 12 million views in 3 days.
Wow.
Like big. And you have to imagine Marcus went so far, and that's what I love about how powerful us as a community we become as creators and influencers, because Marcus was even mentioned by name in the recent Apple keynote.
Wow.
Tim Cook himself said, even Marcus Brownlee thinks that da 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 da.
Celebrities.
Exactly. So it's like it's not the New York the Time magazine said or the Washington Post said. No, it's YouTuber said. So there's so much power behind that. It gives you so much authority, especially if you know your stuff, right? And we also know that today, a lot of people make YouTube because they want to make bank, right?
Right.
And then it's, well, if you want to do it, of course, everybody has their own chance. But if you do something with love and passion and then it slowly starts paying off, I mean, I've uploaded 1,300 videos to this channel.
That's amazing.
That's so much material, so much work. Mm-hmm. And you can probably 1,000 of these videos you can't really use. It was my learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then English is my second language. I had to find my voice and had to find the groove in speaking another language. So, but I did it because I loved it, man. Yep. Man.
That's awesome. Love that. I mean, and people feel that. Again, that's kind of like what we were saying, what we were talking about before we started recording too. Like, people are starting to appreciate that and feel that a little bit more now. So what we were talking about earlier is like what I think is like the renaissance or new renaissance, I don't know, of social media, where people are a little done with the glitz and the glam and the flash, and they're kind of just going back to like information. I want to learn something. Like, I want this person I want it to feel like this person actually cares and is genuine and humble and enjoys what they do and they like what they do and they're not just doing it for fame or money or whatever it is, which is, look, is a part of it, right? At the end of the day, we have these channels nowadays because we can monetize them. It can be a job and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you want it to come across as genuine. And I think people are starting to feel that a little bit more. At least I think so. And it's something I try and do in my channel, or not channel. I'm not that much on YouTube, but like just my platforms and stuff like that. And I feel it with you as well. It's why I connect with your stuff and why I like you. I follow a million people. There's very few people that like genuinely learn from and can actually watch a 12-minute YouTube video and not get distracted, and you're one of them. And I think it comes through as like, it's true. It comes through with like, the passion and the interest in it. And it's not because the videos are flashy or this or that. It's just, you could feel that from the person through. And they actually care. I mean, to go down the rabbit hole that you did of how the kettlebell came into, I know you went down a long rabbit hole of figuring out where it came from. You don't do that. You don't do that to make $1 million. You do that because it's interesting and it's fun, right?
That's
and
what
people,
it is, man.
Yeah, exactly. People feel that. At least I think so. I might be on that side of the world of, and there are a ton of other people that don't really care and it's just fame and glitz and glam. But I think people genuinely see that.
Yeah.
They feel it.
I think especially about the video that I did with the research and the evidence that I've received it from Geronimo Milo, who's I would say he's the godfather of kettlebells in Argentina. It's funny. I mean, I've met the godfather of kettlebells in Argentina. I've met the godfather of kettlebells of Lebanon, and I've met the godfather of kettlebells in Canada. It's like, these are major figures in their countries who are pushing kettlebells from an angle. For example, this one guy from Lebanon, he went to a foundry to produce his own kettlebells. Same with Geronimo from Argentina. Same with Sean Mosen from Canada. These guys, because it was so early, it was like nobody sells kettlebells. What am I going to do? I'm gonna do them myself.
There you go.
That's what's up. Yeah.
Like business 101, right? See, find a problem, fix it yourself.
Exactly. And then Geronimo, he sent me all of his research and all of his material and documents, and I went through it, and it was like, wow, it's such a revelation. Because when you look at kettlebells from the bird's eye perspective, or from the modern terms as we know it, you think, well, it came up in Russia. But actually, it was market weights all around the world. And I'm sure maybe somewhere in the Eastern Bloc nations, China and India, maybe there they also have some kind of history with kettlebells. I'm not saying that they don't have it, but we in the West don't have recorded history. Maybe it exists, but we don't have it. So that's what Geronimo always says, what I like. He says, it's not that I'm right. It's just I went through all the museums and documents and stuff. I read through everything. And this is the recorded evidence that I found. Hence my conclusions. And then when I went down this rabbit hole, finding out that, wow, it actually can be traced back to European strongman in the 18th and 19th and 20th century, especially 19th and 20th century. And then the Dr. Krajewski, who was the left hand from the Tsar back then, that was the 19th century, around the turn of the 19th century and the 20th century, excuse me. And then he found out what these strongman guys were doing. From the original in Europe, from the UK, from Germany, from Switzerland, from Italy. He took it to Russia, and then they continuously developed this idea of kettlebell training into what it is, into kettlebell sport to a certain extent. And then Pavel took it and created something completely new. And that's like, wow, that's fascinating.
It is.
And when you look at it from the other perspective, you just think, well, it's this one guy who it's just a Russian thing.
Yeah.
But actually, it goes way deeper.
Yeah.
And what's your take on kettlebells? Where do you stand because we know the styles discussion and everything. And who are your mentors? Where did you learn it? And what's your take on it?
So where did I learn it? That's a great question. I think a lot of it was, I don't want to say self-talk because that sounds like I'm patting myself on the back, but I just kind of like, followed some. So who was I following? I mean, Pavel's I'm not really like a huge Pavel fan. He didn't really like change my life or anything like that. Like he did for a lot of other people. I think it was just like a group. There's not like a few people that I really kind of like dove in on and started using with. I just kind of like started discovering them, and I saw like Primal Soldier from On It, like those guys. Like I kind of got into like the flashier side of kettlebells first, I'd say. And then got a little bit more into like actually learning the coaching and stuff like that. But I don't really have like a mentor or anything like that when it comes to how I learned them. It was just kind of a lot of, like I said, I like fitness. So I've just kind of like dabbled and messed around with them a lot. In terms of like learning, when it comes to like how I use them, a little bit of that is from myself, only because I took how I Olympic weightlifted and just kind of transfer that into kettlebells and was like, let me see if this works. Because Olympic weightlifting kettlebells are unbelievably similar. Clean press snatch.
Exactly.
So I was like, okay, let me just take because Olympic weightlifting was like the one thing I was super detailed on. I had a coach for 3 straight years. He wrote every single rep of every workout. I did nothing but that for a time. And I was pretty good at it. I won't lie.
Awesome.
So I just it was like a really big part. I was like, this is the most structured thing I've ever done with fitness. Like, let me try and take that into kettlebells because they're so similar. Obviously have their differences, right? I'm not going to clean and press a 210-pound kettlebell like I can with a bar, but
of course,
similar concepts. It's like, okay, let me really focus heavily on clean press snatch, right? And then let me do a bunch of other accessory type of stuff that's going to help me get better at clean pressing and snatching. So it kind of works the same way, at least the way I found it. So that's kind of what in terms of like structuring and how I train myself and some other people with kettlebells, that's kind of the route that I've taken, was kind of trying to mimic my Olympic weightlifting.
So you don't have no RKC, SFG, or IKFF or any type of stuff behind your name to your name.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
I'm interested in them. Just like I feel comfortable.
And you never felt like or you never thought it was necessary to take it a step deeper or just get coaching when it comes to kettlebells?
So necessary? No. Do I want to? Yes. More so from a strategic, not strategic, just like
I get what you're saying.
Curiosity was the word. I'm more so just kind of like, a lot of the other, like I've been coaching people for so long now. Like I know how to like cue certain movements. So I can like watch, let's just say I'd never seen a kettlebell snatch before. I could watch somebody do that and be like, okay, they're doing this with their wrist, they're doing this with their arm and so on. I could probably do that myself a bunch and then start to figure out how to coach it. So that's kind of what happened with kettlebells and stuff. Like I've just been coaching for so long. And again, they've been a part of my training for a very long time. So I've gotten good at coaching people. I would like to take an RKC or something like that just to see how somebody else coaches it. Because you probably teach the snatch completely different than I do, and you might have a couple cues. I'm like, oh wow, that's going to work really well with somebody, or teach the swing, like just to have those processes. But it's more so from a curiosity standpoint. Nowadays, I don't get overly obsessed with like certifications or anything like that. There's so many great coaches that don't have any, and so many crappy coaches that have too many. That it just doesn't like when I go on your Instagram bio and there's like 8 certifications, I'm like, cool. Like,
and then you have
doesn't really,
world champion next to it. Like,
expert. It's like, who deemed you an expert?
Who deemed you an expert?
Or a master or something like that, right?
Master trainer, right? Oh,
yeah,
the master.
Exactly.
I'm not a trainer. I'm a master trainer. I have the first dan, right? Or this. What's the final? What's the final belt you're getting in jiu-jitsu? It's 8.
Black belt, yeah.
Black belt.
8th degree, yeah.
8th degree, exactly.
Yeah.
So
like,
I'm a black belt in kettlebells.
Exactly. It's like, who gave you that? There's no.
Who authorized you? And right. You're bringing up a very valid point, and which I've mentioned so many times on the podcast, which gave me a lot of confidence, and will probably boost your confidence too if you need any. But and all the coaches that are listening, and that is, Pavel and John decided to become authorities.
Yeah.
They weren't.
Marketing.
Yes, they were not sanctified. They weren't sanctioned. They decided. And here's the thing. And that's what I'm learning in the marketing course as well. It's sometimes, okay, I believe if you call yourself an expert or an authority, I would at least say have some physical culture lineage in your family tree, if that makes sense. And that is,
that makes sense.
Okay, I've been mentored by Steve Carter.
Yeah.
So Steve Carter started with Pavel, but then he went to Valery Fedorenko and all these Russian guys. And I now myself went out and talked to all these guys. And now I don't call anybody per se my mentor, but all these conversations and the learning experience that I'm getting. And here's the thing. Once you are advanced in your kinesthetic literacy, like you're saying, I don't think you need to understand the movement from a deeper level or have somebody teach it to you in a better sense. But the conversation and the knowledge and the preparation, what these guys do, and that's what elevates your game. Mm-hmm. And now I put a lot of these names on our website where I'm saying, okay, when it comes to, I get a lot of the feedback from our clients, the reviews from our clients, then the before and afters, then the video feedback. But then I also say, hey, here's the professionals. Then John says, hey, I like Gregory. Steve Carter, he's my mentor. Valery Fedorenko, he's a legend in the kettlebell sport world. Sergey Rudnev, Geronimo Milo, Sean Mo. So I mention all these names, and then it gives you credibility, right? And I'm not saying this because I had a 5-minute chat with them and they were like, this guy's stupid. But I had hours-long conversations where most of these guys said, wow, I really appreciate this. And so, wow, if a legend says, hey, I appreciate this conversation, of course I'm gonna mention this somewhere. Hey, this legend said he appreciated this 1.5-hour conversation, jumped on my podcast. Hey, awesome, right? That's awesome. That's great. And so that gives you some leverage, and I think you need to have some sort of lineage. So you have to have somebody gave or distilled the information down, you received it, and now you are sharing it. I think that's the way of expertise, right? When you are at the bottom of the period, everybody says something else. That's why it makes sense to stick to one let's certify is maybe not the wrong word, not the right word, but some
Style
legit authority, right?
Okay.
Stick to this guy or this gal, and then you move up the pyramid. And once you reach the top of the pyramid, this is when you can then venture out on your own and find your own path, right? If that makes sense.
I like that. No, it does. I like that. It's, it's a good way to try to avoid like the information overload. It's like, okay, I'm just starting out with kettlebells. I'm gonna just listen to everything Gregory has to say, and not listen to anybody else. And I'm gonna listen to him for 2, 3, 4, 5 years or whatever. Okay, I've gotten this base. Like now, I can start seeing what like Pat has to say. What does Eric have to say? Oh, I like that. I like how he teaches the clean. I'm gonna do that, and kind of like take things from there. And I like that you say that because that's actually what I tried to do with jiu-jitsu without realizing it. Is when I started it, I was like, I'm not following anybody on Instagram. I'm not looking up form on YouTube. I'm not doing anything. I was like, I'm just going to go to class and do what my coaches tell me. And I only do that instead of trying to learn from 15 people at once, because they might have good information, but you're not smart enough to take it in yet.
And to discern it.
Exactly. And especially in something like jiu-jitsu, but that's a different story. But like if I haven't touched the kettlebell in my life and then I go follow 25 different people and someone's like, you're going to do your swing like this, and it's like the sport double knee bend or whatever, and then or pendulum, sorry, and then somebody else is going to be like, no, you do it Pablo's way with this, and it's like, wait, I don't know which one to do. And then someone's like, you're going to do this with your wrist when you do snatches. No, this person's what you got to do this. It's like, Jesus, there's too much. So I like that you said that, because I think that's a really good way to go about it, because you get like that mentor in a sense. Is like, maybe not everything they're saying is exactly right, but at least you're just going to have that one voice to take in all that information. And then once you've like earned the right to then maybe go get information from other people. I like the way you described that. I never really thought about it or had that like written out or set out. That's a good way.
It just sets the only thing that you need in this information overload time that we live in is some boundaries to make sure your head doesn't explode. It's the same thing with the marketing now, right? So he says, trust me on this. I've made $1.3 billion in 416 different niches with thousands of clients. Just trust the process. Just don't do anything else. Focus on what I'm telling you. And here's the thing. I did it. I was like, okay, I started following other folks as well. And then then all of a sudden somebody else says something different. But here's the thing. That's why I mentioned the word discernment. I was able to discern. Okay, he takes it from this angle, and it makes sense from that angle. But my coach now, or the agency that I'm working with, they're taking it from a different angle, and they have more experience in more niches, and they generated more revenue. And I paid a lot of money for this course, so let's just stick to it, right? And
it's a great motivator.
Yeah, very great motivator. So I was like, okay, let's stick to it. And the results came immediately. It was a lot of work that I had to put in. But for example, on my opt-in page, where I'm giving away he calls it HVCO, high value content opt-in, high value content offer, where you say, hey, listen, here's this free, and that's what I learned as well. It's a little bit business savvy now, but I love to talk about it, because then I memorize it myself, and I learn by talking and think about.
I love talking about the business stuff, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, man, let's jump into it. So he said, here's the thing: you can do the generic. He calls it the vanilla offer. You say, hey, here's this free workout. There you go. Okay, wow, free workout, great. Now. Okay, let's distill it down. Free kettlebell workout. Oh, great. Okay, so a little bit more niche. And he says, but that's still completely vanilla. Nobody cares about this. You have to lead with the benefit first. Stop talking about the mechanism. So I'm like, okay. So I think about it, and then I came up, okay, here's how 6.5 million people over 40 get in shape with only 30 minutes of training per week. Without leaving their home. Oh, that's a promise. What happened? My conversion rate went from 17% up to 58.
Wow, that's good.
And I have to put this in parentheses. I have to put this in quotes, because it is a warmer audience. But here's the thing, and I just shared it in the group. Both are warm audiences. Ciao, Astrid. Cheers. So both are warm audiences. And one warm audience from social media and YouTube converted with 17%. And now the new one converts with 58. Plus, and here's the thing, plus, I want your phone number now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not just name and email, plus the phone number. So the conversion rates went up. I shared this in the group, and I was like, see, and he said, see, that's what it is. Just trust the process. Follow the system.
That's great. That's it's funny because you think getting more specific would turn more people away, but it actually, like you said earlier, it's like, oh, this guy's talking exactly to me. And that was something I went through too, where it's like, you try to do too many things at once because you want to appease to everybody. It's like if you appease to everybody, you appease to nobody.
Exactly.
And
keep that thought. I just want to interject real quick because you said this. You are turning people away. Of course I turn people away.
Yeah.
Because the people I don't want to work with, or the people who are not a good fit for what I'm offering. Of course, we have to turn people away. And just recently, somebody signed up. She was like, wow, you're focusing on this group? I said, yes. She's like, wow. And she said the same thing. Wow, you turn a lot of people away. I was like, exactly. That's the reason that's the job of the funnel.
Yep.
The job of the funnel is not to lure in everybody, but to push out people who are not a good fit. And then I always say, and that has nothing to do with your value as a human being. If you're not a fit for this program, it just means that you are not the type. And I had a great example. I talked to my barber today, and he asked this. So how does this concept work? I'm like, okay, works very simple. Listen, you have right here one of the best smelling and the most awesome beard oils, right? He said yes. It's very expensive. It is very expensive, but it really it elevates your beard game. I'm like, awesome. I'll never buy it because I will never have a beard.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing bad with your product. Nothing bad with me as a human being. Just not a good fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a guy I know. I'm gonna send you his Instagram because he talks a lot about what you're talking about right now. Just like the specificity of everything. His name's Sean. I've known him for a while, and he's all about just kind of like becoming a real pro when it comes to being a coach. And he always he has a really good analogy. He's like, if your 8-year-old child has a heart problem, and you're searching for how to fix that, are you gonna go to a general physician, or are you gonna go to the person who specifies in heart problems with kids who are under 10 years old? You're like, oh, it's no question. I'm going to this person, right?
No
cool.
question.
If my kid has a cold or a fever or they break their ankle, I'm not going to go to this guy. But when I have that specific problem, oh my God, this guy treats kids with heart problems, and that's all he does.
Oi,
Give me
Lisa.
that guy. So it's like
Give me a second. Give me a second.
Yeah, go do your thing.
Service Lisa. Ich bin gerade im Gespräch, gell? Und du hast ja den Tafel mit der Angie, gell? Cool. Aber Service da. Mega. Cool. Okay, here we are. Let's go. Because we just had she just started, and I mean she's a new client, and we have a lot of commotion here, so that's why I had to say hello. See, and that's another thing. Just keep your thought.
Yeah.
Just if you want to learn one thing, is just give people a warm heart, a loving greeting from the heart. Like, man, so awesome that you show up. Because like you mentioned in the beginning, right? Most people don't have the time, or they just want to work out. 42-year-old dad, I don't have the time. Mm-hmm. So when this guy shows up and makes time out of his busy schedule, man, don't be like, hey, right? You got to light up like a Christmas tree, man.
Okay,
but keep going.
No, I wrote down a note so we can remember that, because I could go off on a long tangent with what you just said because I like it, but I'm gonna save it because I want to get to what I was saying before. But basically, yeah, it's trying to find. I want the one person who's gonna work specifically for exactly what I'm looking for. If I'm a 42-year-old dad who has 3 kids and no time to work out, you're the guy, as opposed to someone who's like, hey, you want to lose weight and get in shape? Like, there's 10,000 coaches like that, but this one guy just said every single thing that's going through my head that I want to stick with. So it's something that kind of hits home, and in a situation that you're in, it works so well. Just being specific, as much as it feels like it doesn't make sense on paper, but it does.
I think initially you're like, well, but fitness is for everybody, right? Of course it is. but your program's not for everybody.
Right.
Right? And you have to, and I remember this. I remember when I got started. It was like, okay, you have to find out your dream avatar client. So I've always heard this, but I was like, I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
So when you get started, you have to take inventory. You have to. I love how my marketing guy says it. He says you have to put in the reps. You have to be in the trenches,
Sounds
do the
familiar,
work, right? Put in the reps. He says it like that. I'm like, I know what that feels like. So let's put in the reps. Let's go to work, and then after maybe a couple of years, it took me years to realize it. I'm like, okay, that's the crowd that I'm serving.
Yeah.
All right, so let's bundle packages around that crowd. Let's get that let's get to know that crowd even better. And so, and the marketing then writes itself, and there's so much truth behind it. Because if you think, okay, I have to talk to 25-year-old women, and then I talk to 60-year-old guys, and then let's not forget the 25-year-old with an amputated leg or whatever have you. It's just crazy stuff. You'll never go anywhere.
No. And then your content's all over the place, like you were saying. Your advertising. It's amazing how simple, because when you're speaking to the same person all the time, your same avatar, they ask the same questions, and then that means everybody else has the same questions. Cool. Oh, 4 people have commented this past week. Listen, my back hurts when I do kettlebell swings. Well, I guess I know what my content's going to be this week. How to make your back not hurt. The content literally writes itself.
Exactly. Sometimes I use for my titles the exact same wording that they used in the comments.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom.
It's brilliant. That's what
There you
should
go.
do.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's not only the content, but also your coaching you have a laser sharp focus.
Yeah.
You know exactly the pain points, how to treat them. And at the end of the day, that's what I love. It's like, but at the end of the day, it's like move more and eat less, right? Yes, to a degree. But if you work with people over 40, over 50, you will encounter a lot of pain, real pain.
Yes.
And you will encounter at that age group, I wonder what your take on this is. Mm-hmm. You will encounter, how can I describe this? Problems with their kinesthetic sense, their joints, and their apparatus, their muscles, their body, that are irreparable to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. So what I want to say with this, for example, we have a couple of clients. They have been walking around for 50 years like this. Mm-hmm. So they have this hunchback of Notre Dame back, right? And believe me, man, we do everything. We do everything. We do chest up, we do stretches, we do presses, presses are so awesome to open up the chest, right, with the kettlebell. So it pulls you away. So that's, man, we didn't even talk about kettlebells, man. I can't believe it, just a little bit. So it does so many wondrous things. It's miraculous. But we have folks who've been with us for years. And yes, it has improved. But I tell these people, I think it will never go away, like in my case, like the way I walk around, because for 50 years, he didn't do anything.
Yep.
And now we do everything at Kronite. We do everything that we can to battle or to combat these ailments. But at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't hurt. Great. But we still have to do some farmer's carries chest up. We still have to do the stretches. We still have to do the presses. We still do what we have to do. And you still hear me tell you every time, chest up, shoulders back. Mm-hmm. Proud stance, right? But it never goes away completely. What's your experience?
So I actually heard you, I forget who you were talking to, or if maybe it was just a video or it was a podcast, I can't remember. This is probably a week or two ago, and I heard you say that. I was like, I love this because it's so true. Because exactly what you described, I have a client who is just like that. You know, the hunchback in Notre Dame, like 50-something years old. It's like, I'm never going to fix this perfectly, right? They have to make it their life's mission for the next 5 years if they really wanted to fix it completely. But we're going to work around it. We're going to make it better. But it doesn't mean they can't do X, Y, and Z. They can still do stuff. They just have to be a little bit more conscious of it. Maybe they're not going as heavy, whatever it is. I really enjoyed it because that's real. That's real training, is dealing with people who have real things going on that hey, it might not get fixed. We're not in this bubble of fixing everybody magically, like everybody on Instagram thinks we can, you know?
It's interesting. I in the back of my mind, I was like, I bet he's going to transition into social media on what
It's hard not to. Well,
It's hard
because let's take that person, right? The person you were just talking about. If you filmed a video of them doing a single arm row, right? Probably a little here, probably, or maybe farmers here. It's not great.
comments
You put that on
all over the place.
dude, you would get destroyed.
I
It's
had
like-
that experience.
It's part of the, I kind of stopped posting my clients that much because of that. Because it's just like these people, like you said, 50 years old is sitting at a desk.
Yeah.
What, twice a week strength
Yeah.
training is not going to magically fix them for a year. So like,
Yeah.
which is fine as long as they're being safe. So it
100%.
but
right, man.
everybody would be like, oh my God, you got to fix it. Like, dude, oh my God. So I used to do.
What are
like
you
a-
doing? You should be stripped of your trainer's license.
Seriously. So I used to do TikTok videos of like a day in the life of a personal trainer because I had like a decent following of like people who were interested in training.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would be like, this is my client at 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'll never forget, I had a client like doing a bench press and their elbows were like a little in. It showed 1 rep. God, why is his elbows spread out? You need to fix it. I'm like,
this.
I'm like,
Standing
first of
from
all-
the sidelines.
first of all, watch the video. I'm on my 9th client of the day. It's 5:30 at night. I woke up 12 and a half hours ago. I filmed 1 rep. Shut up. Their stuff is fine most of the time. But just leave me alone. So,
Oh,
but
man,
yeah,
yep.
so there's people don't understand, especially when they're like 22 and new or not in the fitness
Yes.
industry. Like there are certain
Yes.
things it's just not going to happen, right? Why isn't your client squatting down all the way? Because they're 62 years old and they've never been down that low. So we're gonna try and work towards it. Like,
Oh, and have
There's
you
so
ever?
much
And
of that.
oh man, and have you ever? That's
whatever
the
you're about
beauty.
to say. I probably had to do it.
But here's the thing: have you ever encountered somebody with a different hip structure? Well, if you've been in long enough, if you've been doing this job long enough, you will see some people cannot go ATG. And here's the thing:
No.
maybe they can with a highly specialized weightlifting coach who drills them into their brain until they die. Right? Okay. And then I had this great conversation with Kettle Phil where he said, well, maybe, here you go. So you have this guy. Let's take the squat. So you have this guy, right? He doesn't have the perfect hip to go ATG. But now you force him or her forever for the next 15 years. And now after 15 years, they develop a serious issue with their hip. Because you force that hip outside of its range to a certain extent. Right? So now this guy can only squat down, let's say like what we would say if you don't go ATG like a half squat or just a perpendicular, right? Or a 90 degree. Hey, totally fine.
Yep.
This guy never squatted, right? And then you have other folks. They go down like, whoop.
No problem.
Yeah, you have the hips for it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Does that mean we don't do squats with folks who who can only do 90-degree angle? Of course not. Because the squat, I asked this. Maybe you caught this in the conversation with Eric, where I tell him, hey, do you know what the king of lifts is according to the most successful weightlifting coaches or and strength coaches? It's the squat.
Yep.
So I hope you integrate the squat into your workouts as much as possible. Right?
In some sort of way, at least,
In
right?
in
'Cause
some sort of way. Exactly.
everybody's
in some
going to
sort
be
of way.
different.
Exactly. And so that's the beauty of it, understanding when you work with people. But here's the thing, when you jump into the bubble of Instagram, I think there's 2 things. You have folks who are conditioned because they follow all these fitness beasts with perfect form that they think that normal people are supposed to move like that too. Funny thing is what I've realized, sometimes when these people give their comments and share their thoughts, they make this huge post, right? Then you check out their stuff, and if they have anything online, their form is like out of this world. It's the worst ever, right?
Yeah.
To a certain extent. But
Right.
they know all the secrets. Okay, I got it. That's one thing. And then the other thing is, you have content on social media that tells you, or that, I have to be more specific, that gives you the illusion that everything is fixable.
Yeah. Yes. And I'll be, as a coach, I have ran into that issue myself, actually, of believing that everything is fixable. Actually, I will fully admit that, because part of me does believe it. It's just like, what's the right route? And sometimes I just don't know the right route, and I feel
Me
like
too,
I
me
should,
too,
or I
me
feel like
too.
I have discovered the right
Me
route,
too.
and turns out I'm wrong. So, kind of like what you were just saying, like I screwed up for a little bit. I had a client whose knee was like tight, right? And a little swelling. She had like a what was it, meniscus repair like a while ago. It's like, all right, let's try and get some range of motion back. We're trying to do some ATG squats, right? We've got the heels elevated so she can get lower. It's not great. She saw a physical therapist that I like really, really trust. He's like, she should probably just stay at 90 for right now. It's like, okay, I've been trying to do the complete opposite. We've been staying at 90 for the past like 4 weeks. She's doing like barbell box squats. She's getting stronger. She feels great. I'm like, damn, I screwed that up. Right. And I have no problem admitting that. I've known her for like
I
6 or 7 years.
I wouldn't even say you screwed it up. You've learned, so you did a great job. I think you would have screwed up if you would have said after she's gotten the recommendation, and then you're like, no, we always have to go ATG, right?
True. That's fair. I guess that's what's good to have
right?
like a recommend.
And maybe that makes sense, right? So maybe that makes sense that she should stay in that ATG range because now it's just initial pain that'll go away, but. Here's the thing again. You don't want to force your clients through hoops where I think I'm going to lose this client if I push her that hard. I ask this question all the time. Any pain? No. Safe. So we had a client today. She was deadlifting 60 kilos. That's what, 120 pounds. She's 50 kg body weight. That's like 100 pounds. It was really solid. It was like awesome. And then her lifts were really tough. And at the end, she was like, oh, she really had to give it all her got. And then I said, how do you feel? She's like, I feel my lower back. It's like, is it pain? No. It's tension. I said, yeah. Because now your lower back is the bridge that has to hold together your whole body. Of course, you're going to feel it now.
Oh, I like that.
Right?
I got to write that down. That's a good way of describing it.
Yeah, that's a good way, right? And she said, oh, yeah. But I said, no pain? She said, no. So I said, okay. And then in the second round, I was like, because I saw she struggled a little bit, and I know her. So that's the good thing of knowing your clients. I was like, what do you think? You want to stay at that weight? She's like, maybe we should go down. Okay, let's go down. Right? Because, she pushed through. She was happy, but she didn't have enough confidence to go through the heavy weight again. So I'm like, yeah, of course. Let's go down with the weight.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem. But that's the beauty of working with, I always say that, with real people in real life. And you mentioned this. It's so different. And you mentioned the social media world. Let me throw another pipe bomb at you. And that is, it's not just the social media world. It's also the kettlebell institution world. Yes. Okay, let's do the certification over a weekend. You have never seen kettlebells in your life. Yes? No. So let's come through that. So let's show up at that seminar. Awesome. Hey, at the end of the seminar, you have to do a hardcore 24 kg snatch test. It's going to kill you because you never picked up a kettlebell in your life, but that's how we do it here. How much sense does that make? No disrespect. I know a lot of RKC SFGs, they don't like me for this, but this does not make sense. I show up to learn the tool. And let me and then I have to stop talking because I say so much. I want to get your opinion. So I'm currently in talks with a guy. He owns a gym in Bari. That's in the southern part of Italy. And he wants to do a seminar with me. So we have this conversation. So he's like, hey, but at the end of your Tuesday seminar, there should be a physical exam, right? I said, no, there isn't. Because these people show up to learn. Of course we're going to train. Of course I'm going to challenge them. But it makes no sense to crush these folks into fine powder through a heavy, intense snatch set just to make them look like a fool and I look like the king. See, that's how I power through this easily. Right? This doesn't make sense, man.
Yeah.
And so if you make that experience, so have experience with normal people, you realize like, wow, this doesn't add up to a certain extent.
No. Yeah, it's like it's the bravado of the fitness world coming out wholeheartedly in there. And like part of me, like there's a small part of me that understands what they're trying to do. Like, hey, if you're gonna teach this, like you gotta do it. But like that's
agree 100%.
Like, right. But that's a pretty aggressive. Like I don't know much about RKC, but I know a lot of people fail that. It's like
yes.
And
they pride themselves. And they pride themselves.
Yeah, like
right?
that's where it's like, okay, I get
what do you expect?
Right. Like, but I can still teach somebody how to do a snatch if I can't do 100 in 5 minutes with a 24, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I understand what they want to do, but that should just be more so of like, just a like like the coaches there, like the people doing or instructing the certification, just kind of like keep an eye on, be like, okay, this person still doesn't fully, this person's still bashing their forearm every snatch. Maybe they shouldn't be coaching somebody, but because somebody did 92 snatches in 5 minutes instead of 100, like that's the reason they can't teach somebody. That's where it's like, again, I understand what they're trying to do on paper, but I
Yes.
feel like that's like
Yes.
a little bit over the top, a little bit of a mixed mark. And I think it's just like, you know, I know you've talked about this before. It's like the badassery and like male bravado of Pavel and the kettlebell trying to like come out into the world, and it's like
Yeah, exactly.
we don't need that.
Exactly. It's and here's the thing, man. I say this so many times, and when I watch the videos and I edit it, I always say, "Here's the thing," and then I'm like, "Stop saying this, man." So
Hey, you
now
have
my
your
brain
things.
is telling me,
Dude,
"That's good."
my wife will send me my videos, and it's like me doing the same intro every single time without realizing. Like, all right, today we're gonna do, and it's like, wow, I say that in every single video. It's you can't get
But
rid
the
of them.
intro's good. The intro's good. But you know, it's my the way I communicate. I want to keep it as streamlined as possible. So instead of saying, "Here's the thing," just say the thing.
But this is a real conversation. It's not,
Exactly.
that's what you want it to come off as.
Exactly. But I'm trying to improve my conversational skills. But see, I wanted to say it again.
You can
So
say
let's
as much
stop
as
this.
you want.
Yeah, let's stop this. When I get the aspect that you need to learn the tool first. 100% agree. I also agree, and I'm on that camp that says you need to have the required level of fitness to teach it. And I'm also in that camp, which is a little bit controversial, I know, in today's day and age, that says, bro, you have to look the part as well.
100%. Yeah,
That's where I come from, right?
I'm with you.
Okay. So you'll never be able to master the snatch after 2 days. Or maybe, yes, to a certain extent, but you need time and you need to put in the reps. And you need to rewatch the material and learn it, and there you go. Okay, we get it. My educational approach, and that's the reason why, because I think that's missing in the institutions. And I started educating a couple of folks. We have 3 trainers now who are getting certified the way I teach it.
Nice.
And here's the thing, and here's what I'm trying to say, is I had them prepare for a fitness test as well, but I gave them 3 months in advance. And especially one of the coaches, she said one thing. She said, Gregory, my confidence went through the roof through this preparation. I said, exactly the reason why I want you to prepare for the test. Because thousands of swings will give you confidence, done the right way, with the proper information, will give you the confidence that your client will experience and see.
Yep.
It's not about the test that, even though she passed all of them, and they're pretty rough, and I was like, man, I was so proud. I was like, man, you got it, awesome, awesome. It's not about passing the test at all, to a certain extent. It's more important for you to go on the journey of putting in the reps. Yep. And how do you put in the reps? By preparing for a competition or preparing for an event. That's what I think makes sense. And not just have them rush through a system, destroy them with one particular test, and then you let them loose to train other folks. And then they realize, wow, this is not at all what it's like to train normal people. And you mentioned the male bravado and stuff. The kettlebell is awesome, but hey, like you said, the 42-year-old dad, of course you will find these military hardcore tough guys, yes, and they gravitate towards it, awesome, that's great. But I doubt to a certain extent that you can make a full-time, maybe you can if you really specify yourself in that area, in that niche, but most people, if you drill it down, it's yes, over 40s or maybe over 50s, and they have pain in their life, they maybe never moved before, and the more pain somebody has, the more they are willing to work with you and spend money that you can then use to live and actually do this full time. So it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, I like that because, and two, so I did a certification once, and I kind of like the way they do, because kind of like what you're saying, right? Is someone should, like a way to kind of combat it, just kind of like spitball, and it's like go take a certification, and then if you want to have them pass it or need to pass a certain test, like, hey, submit a video in a month or 2 months. I had I don't know if you're familiar with FRC at all.
FRC?
Yeah, so functional range conditioning. It's like a mobility thing. and they have this.
Not FMC, Functional Movement Systems from Grey
No,
Cook.
it's
Somebody
FRC.
else. Okay.
So anyway, I took their kin stretch one, which is basically taking their protocols and like how to do it in a group setting. And we did the whole weekend. And then they said, you will get your kin stretch certification when you film yourself teaching a group and we approve of it. I was like, that's legit. And actually, now that I'm actually saying it out loud, I didn't think about the fact that like they made us do it filming a group. Like that would actually be a really good way. It's like, okay, cool. Even if it's get 5 people and teach a kettlebell class.
Hey,
That involves cleans and snatches and presses.
Just
And
want to
we'll let you
interject.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
want to interject. That's exactly what our coaches have to do. After they have 4 phases, and in the final phase, I'm like, you have 3 months. I want you to teach the swing, the clean and press, the squat, the deadlift, and a couple of more exercises to a client. You have max 5 to 6 minutes per exercise to teach. You send me the video, and if I approve of it, you pass. That's exactly what we do.
I like that. You should then like throw in just to see how good they are at calling audibles. Be like, all right, this person has back problems too. Like throw a little like, hey, all right, today we're gonna deadlift. It's like, ooh, this hurts my back. It's like, all right, how does that coach then pivot? Because
that would actually be that would be the next level when people show up in an insert in-house, and then they're like, okay, teach the deadlift, and then you have somebody, an actor, be like, oh, no, that doesn't work. Yeah. Okay, what do you do now?
Well, because at the end of the day, I had this conversation yesterday, so I'm happy we're getting to this. That is one of the most important things when it comes to being a trainer, and we kind of revert back to like we were talking about some of the Instagram stuff, which again, I understand somebody being like, everybody should be barbell back squatting. It's like, okay, maybe we change that to like everybody should be squatting, because what happens when this person puts a bar in their back and it hurts, or their elbows are like this like right, like especially if you work with older people, like I never thought about it when I was younger in Olympic weightlifting, but holding a bar like this for a lot of people is fucking hard. They're like their elbows are like this.
It rips them apart. It rips them. Hey, if you work like this all day long, and all of a sudden, it's not just moving here, but you have to move right here and then put weights behind your back.
Hard.
No.
I feel it myself. Sometimes when I'm doing squats, my right shoulder, because I play baseball, so my right shoulder's a little funky. My shoulder like cramps up. I'm like, God, it doesn't like being there. And it's like, that's where we get into like the dogma sometimes. Like everybody needs to be doing this. It's like, there's such a big, but that needs to come after that, because like, again, I understand what people are trying to say. And look, we've got to play the game a little bit. We've got to be a little like eye-catchy and have maybe some clickbait type of stuff. I get that.
That's what it is.
And I do that. You do that. Everybody does it to a degree where it's like we need something to capture eyes. But like language is so important in the way you say it. It's like, you know, a perfect example. I remember you did this. You had a video that was like, it was like the best and worst kettlebell coaches in Instagram. And I was like, damn, but the worst? Click. So I clicked on it, and then at the beginning, you're like, I'm not calling people out for being shitty coaches. I just said that so you guys would click on it. And then you went through like a very informative video, which I love that, because that it could be something like that. It's like everybody needs the barbell back squat is the name of the video. It's like, yes, okay, cool. Everybody should do that if you can, but if it bothers your shoulder, bothers your back, you're terrified of a barbell, like that's a factor too. Like, cool, goblet squat, double kettlebell front squat, you can't get that low squat with your heels on a board, something like that is that's where we run into the like everybody needs to do X, and it's like sometimes they're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and that's where the audibles of a good coach comes into play. Because if you just got certification 2 weeks ago, or you're training people and you just follow Instagram dude 1 2 3 is like everybody needs a back squat, and then you're like, cool, 58-year-old Joanne is going to back squat for the first time she's ever squatting in her life. It's like, maybe not. So those were those audibles coming. She's like, oh, it hurts my back. And you're like, oh, just try getting lower. You'll warm up. It's like, no.
Let's put some weight on it.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that'll drop you down a little.
You got to get in the groove. It's going to drop you down. Don't worry about it.
But those audibles are where it comes into play. And that's what's so important in this industry. When you're working with, again, we always say like regular people, because that's most people. That's a little bit.
Yeah. It's the nut jobs like you and me who love that stuff, right? Who are in that small bubble. That's such a tiny. Sean Mosen did this with me. I love it. I do it all. I do it as well. He said, listen, This is the world's population, right? Okay. Now, let's shrink it down to how many people train 2 to 3 times a week regularly throughout the whole year. So he shrinks it down like this, and then he stops approximately here, right? Then he says, okay, so that's a very small group, right? I said, yes. You know what this group does in their free time? I said, no. Talk to each other how bad they are and how bad their form is. And it's our little bubble that we find ourselves in. It's so, but it's I think it is a paradox. There's most definitely a name for it. You think the world, it's not exactly a paradox, but the world is not, how does that work? The world is not how it is. No, the world is not how you think it is, it's how it is. Something like this, right? Because you see all that stuff all the time, you automatically assume that everybody's like this.
Yeah, for sure.
So I see this in my Instagram feed all the time. So of course, and then that's why you brought that in. And here I see Pat. Oh my God, what kind of bench press is this? Athlete X Jeff said that we have to blah blah blah. And right, and then this guy wrote a comment. You should be stripped of your license because you are in that small bubble. And people always react to what they have first been exposed to. Right? I've been exposed to this, so everybody's supposed to work like this. Yep. And that's why I think I'm hoping we're doing a service with this podcast, because it opens up the coach's perspective, and you as a coach don't have to be scared of the online mob, because first of all, these are the guys that will never purchase a program or a course from you anyway.
Yep.
And second of all, they live in their small bubble.
Yep.
But your dream client is out there who needs help. Mm-hmm. And then I think one of the most important qualities of being a coach is being empathetic. And then you've heard this too, like, yeah, but when you do it, it looks so easy. and recently somebody said this. He said, there's only one difference. I've just had more experience with the tool. Mm-hmm. That's it, man. This is rep number 150,224, and you are at rep 10. Yep. So of course there's a difference, right? So let's work through it. And also what I found out is if you are hell-bent on form, you are going to lose people.
Bring it up. Go ahead. Keep going. This is my favorite thing you've ever said, because I've been saying this to myself forever. And like, quite frankly, I just didn't have the balls to say it out loud because it sounds terrible. Oh, yeah. I'm so happy you brought this up. That was actually my notes of things that I've heard you say and I wanted to talk about.
I can also scientifically. Oh, give me a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey. Schatz. Fertig geht's dann? Fertig. Fertig. So, I have to quiet the dogs. So, we were at form, right?
Yep.
And what? I have to get back into the train of thought. Talking about form.
I got you. I know where you're about to go.
I can scientifically back it up. Look up the Bell trial online.
Bell trial?
The Bell trial. Yeah, it was a study by Neil May, done by Neil May. I also had him on a podcast. So if you study the trial and study the paper, please look at the conversation that I had with Neil, because it really elevates your understanding. Here's what Neil May, M-A-I-G-H. He's from Australia. He's a physiotherapist and also a certified RKC coach.
Cool.
I love what he did. The Bell trial was 59 to 79-year-old people going through a rigorous kettlebell exercise program for 12 weeks and see how they react. So he said, here's what happened. I love this story. Here's what happened. We started the trial. So we had in-gym coaching to teach them the essentials, teach them the skills of kettlebells. The pandemic hit. We couldn't do in-gym anymore. And I think online, I don't know if we did online back then, but it was like people had to go back to their homes, but they wanted to stay in the program, so they had to do it by themselves. Mm-hmm. Here's what he did. He put measurements on these older folks, and he put measurements on the way the muscles work during a swing. And when you look at his swing, Neil's swing, he's certified, he can swing a 60 kg kettlebell with solid form. You see that it looks like a heartbeat. the graph of the muscle activation, right?
Gotcha.
And it looks pretty crisp and clear. And that's like an indication of this guy has great form. Awesome. Now, here's what happened. When they brought back the older clients in the program, they had to put them on these they had to measure the muscles again, right? To see what the exercise looks like on a graph. And Neil said the exercise looked completely false, wrong, and out of this world. The measurement was somewhere else. But here's the thing. These folks had a great experience. These folks were enjoying the program, and they had great results.
That's it.
And so we are all. Oh, give me a second. The dog's going crazy.
It's all good.
Man, I don't know. But that's what it is, man. It's like they're like kids. So, here's the thing. We're walking around being hell-bent on technique and form. You have these, I don't know, it was like 20 or 30 individuals, 59 to 79 years old, and they were all having fun. They were having results. They were in their best shape of their life. He also then, in the Bell trial, he has a part where he said, hey, if you're marketing towards 60-year-olds, take everything that we've written down in that protocol and use it in your marketing. And watch what these guys said. It was the best thing I'd ever done in my life. They wanted to continue that group. It gave them so much strength, so much passion, so much vigor back in their life. But their form wasn't good.
I love that. Because I'm happy you brought that up.
Check this out, the Bell trial. And everybody who's listening or watching, please check out the Bell trial from Neil May. It is such an enlightening piece of evidence. Of course, we always need more evidence. We know that, right? But it is enlightening because it shows you that you can achieve a lot with a little. Mm-hmm. And of course, a 69-year-old gentleman or a woman is not going to swing a 32 kg kettlebell. Not necessary at all. Mm-hmm. Maybe an 8 kg. Maybe if they're a little bit advanced, 8-10. And that's it.
Themselves doing that.
Exactly.
It's I remember because I've always kind of said that with certain things. So like to use the kettlebell swing as an example, I've always said this even before I was like really hardcore into kettlebells when I was like coaching CrossFit. You know, people do like the squatty kettlebell swing, right? Where it's like a little bit more of a squat. It's like, it's okay. Like, is it perfect? No. Are you going to kill yourself doing that? Nope, not at all. So you're in the middle of a CrossFit workout. CrossFit's just supposed to be intense, right? So as long as your form is not to the point where you're going to kill yourself, like, okay, keep the intensity there, keep doing your thing, because what I could do is stop you every single time you do a rep the way I don't like it. And guess what? You're going to do 5 kettlebell swings in 15 minutes if I have to do that, right? And so that's going to lead into overcoaching, someone not liking it. They're going to get annoyed. They're going to think I'm annoying. Be like, dude, shut up. I'm here twice a week. Just let me work out. Right. So that's what it leads into. And there's so much kind of like what you're saying. All these people just like dive bombing you on Instagram. Like, again, part of the reason I kind of don't really post my clients anymore. Because guess how many of my clients have perfect form on everything? None of them. Same reason.
Nobody. And it's not necessary.
It's not. So I was teaching.
You're so right.
Because exactly what you said, you have to enjoy it and the adherence has to be there. So I talk about this a lot, and I was actually talking about it with a client today. I was teaching how to do snatches with a kettlebell for the first time. I said, the only thing I care about right now for today, it's the first time you've ever done. The only thing I care about is not bashing your wrist and forearm.
Yes.
It's the only thing. Why? Because it's annoying. It's uncomfortable, it hurts, and it leads you to not want to do these anymore.
Yeah.
It's the only thing. So if you do some kind of crappy, it's basically a clean into a press, and it's not straight up overhead, that's fine with me.
That's fine.
Because, so he plays basketball, I use a basketball cue. I'm like, I can nitpick this all day long. All right, I can tell you to bring your elbow in on your jump shot, blah, blah, blah. Is the ball going in the hoop? Cool. It's the only thing that really
Who
matters
cares?
right now.
Who
So
cares?
if
You're
shoot
winning the
basketball
game.
this is terrible. So anybody who's listening, I'm doing the worst jump shot ever. But if the ball goes in the hoop, who gives a crap? So it's like,
Nobody.
look, day one of snatches, your wrist isn't bruised up like crazy, then fine. That's all I care about right now. And then look, down the line, we'll nitpick a little bit. Hey, I want you to do this. This is whatever it is. But I need you to stay with me, because if I overcoach you on every single rep, you're going to be bored, annoyed, and not like me. And if you're
Overcoaching, man.
what people tend to forget is like nobody walked in with perfect form on anything ever. Like
Never.
anybody, like
Never.
What do you think your first barbell back squats looked like?
Of course.
I bet you would. I bet
I
you
have-
watch it now. You'd be like,
I have video evidence of my first kettlebell stuff, which I regularly parade them on the channel.
good.
And because first of all, it reminds me of how I got started,
Mm-hmm.
and second of all, did I die?
I was just gonna say. I was gonna ask you the same question. Did you die? Did your back explode? Like,
Boom.
You're okay. There's a
Exactly.
learning curve. There's a learning curve with everything, and I think
Exactly.
it's important to go through that learning curve of like, these kind of feel crappy. My form's not good because like.
And your
like
body's
what we were
telling
saying-
you this, right? I always tell I tell I asked this so many times. I got used to this question. Like, we're done, so we do the set of like a couple of swings and cleans, and then I'm like, how does it feel? And they're saying, I'm not sure. I think I'm still a little bit too stiff. I'm like, yeah. Here's the thing. You feel what it's not supposed to feel like. That's great. That's a great cue, because now you have to move away from this, not towards it. And then we give a couple of cues, they work a little bit, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh, that was a good one. Now remember that. Then they put the bell down. I'm like, how does it feel? Oh, way better. Here we go.
And it's still not perfect, but it's good.
And it doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be. Drives me
And what you
nuts.
exactly, and that's but if we leave again back to the Instagram bubble or the kettlebell bubble or whatever you want to call it, if you live in that world, you assume a swing is supposed to look like this.
Oh,
No, that's so far removed from the truth, because it's maybe your little group. And I'm not talking about any particular group, or the snatch, the sports snatch, the technique, the blah blah blah. You're doing it blah blah. Who cares, bro? I'm using a 24 kg. I do 200 reps in 10 minutes. My form looks crazy. Who cares? I got the reps.
who cares?
I've won. All right, just right. So understand, man. These dogs are crazy. Man, I don't know what's happening. Give me another second.
Oh, good. You're good. I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. Oh, I don't think you heard me. I'm gonna stay.
Du sitzt da. Fertig jetzt. Fertig. Komm hier. Oh my God! They never. I don't know. they never went ballistic like this. But hey, I think they're filling the conversation, man. That's what.
Yeah, they like it.
Yeah. But here, but really,
Yeah, go ahead.
It is the idea of everybody moving the same, and look at body type. I mean, we know this, right? And here again Instagram comes into play. You're familiar with Sheldon's? I think he was a German psychoanalyst or something like this, who came up with these body types: the endomorph, the ectomorph, the what's the third one?
Mezzo.
Mesomorph, exactly. So, again, just like with everything in life, two camps form. Camp number one, this is the new Bible, right? Ecto, meso, endo, right? Camp number two, this is complete baloney. And how about settling in the middle? There are some folks, they're genetically gifted. They look at a barbell and boom, they build muscle, right? Then you have other people, short, stocky. For example, one of our clients, I love him to death, such an awesome client. But he has short legs, long torso, short arms. Right? And he's over 60. He's a judge. never moved in his life, but found passion in our group training with kettlebells.
Nice.
What do you think? How many times I walk up to this dude saying, man, I love what you're doing. Awesome, looks great. And if you would look at his form, because of his long torso, the swing looks completely off. But he enjoys it that much. And his press is getting better. It's just the small little things. And I'm like, man, I walk around, give people compliments all day because I'm like, man, this is so good. You're getting stronger. The form looks better. And even if you have to put the bell down, who cares? Nobody cares. You run your own race.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would,
it.
yeah, and he likes it. So if I would walk up with this mindset of you have to adjust the way a swing has to look like, I'm gonna waste potential, and he's probably gonna quit, and he'll never train, and he's never gonna train again. So this is gonna hurt my business. It's gonna hurt my retention rate, and I'm gonna hurt the client.
Yeah.
Wow, just so that I can walk around and say, yeah, but so and so said that a swing is supposed to look like this. Come on.
Mm-hmm. It's Eric brought it up on your podcast, and I heard it. I've heard it before too. It's like at the end of the day, we're all just making stuff up, right? Like a kettlebell is just a rock with a handle on it, and who's the authority to say this is the way it's supposed to be used? It's all made up stuff. Every exercise ever is made up except like walking, right? We all just created it.
Yes.
And it's
God made that one up.
Exactly, and it's like. And there's always, every like 10 or 15 years, you've seen it, there's always some sort of renaissance in the fitness industry. 10 years ago, if you told somebody to squat on their toes, ass to grass, they'd be like, oh my God, your knees are going to explode when you do that. And now it's the complete opposite, right? I've seen people do like 300. And it's like, but like, and I've seen people do like 300-pound Jefferson curls, right? Where like the back is insanely rounded. It's like, wow, that's clearly not bad for him, but there's just like, this is all, and the body can adapt to so many different things. Is basically what I'm trying to get at here. Is like, there's so many ways, and who knows, in 10 years, everybody might be like, wow, kettlebells are the dumbest thing ever. And then 10 years after that, everybody's going to be like, have you ever heard of these kettlebell things? They're pretty damn good. It's like, we can go
human
on forever.
nature. It's human nature.
It can go on forever. So it's just like at the end of the day, like you said, that guy's moving for the first time in his life. He's 60. He's having fun. He's meeting new people. He's stronger, and he's enjoying it. It's like, he'll be okay if his knees cave in like that much on his squat, right? Obviously, there's degrees to this, right?
Don't start with deval, because don't start with, oh my God, when the knees, people go nuts, like, oh, the knees cave in. Come on.
I don't know how familiar you are with the Olympic weightlifting world, but so it is the what is it? I think it's the South Koreans. No, it's
I know
North Koreans.
The Chinese, the Lu Xiaoyan and
Yeah.
Li Kang. I'm aware of these two monsters. Okay. Yeah.
So, but it's the People's Republic of North Korea, whatever they call it. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something about when they squat. These people are in the Olympics and winning medals and gold and silver, bronze, stuff like that. When they squat, their knees go almost touch, and then they come back out. Like they do it so much, it actually looks intentional. So like. And these people have quads the size of my face, and they're in the Olympics. So it's like, okay, something is, and it's that country. They do it a lot. I don't know if it's the way they're built. They teach it, whatever. Anyway, these people are okay. Their knees aren't exploding. They're winning gold medals. It's like, who are you, John Doe, 24-year-old brand new personal trainer? You'd be like, ooh, that doesn't look so good, man. You should fix that. It's like, you're talking to the guy who's clean and jerking 3 times his freaking body weight. What do you mean? So
you should read the book so and so titles by this and that, and understand how biomechanical. Come on, man.
Right, and then another one, just because you said it, Liu Xiaojun, he'll do behind the neck lap pull downs, right?
Yeah.
Which a lot of people be like, oh my God, dude, your shoulder, is that okay? It's like, this guy squat jerked 170 kilos at 77 kilo body weight. It's like, you want to tell him how he should work out? And
or Kyriakos, you know Kyriakos, he's Georgian, I think. Big, huge belly. He does. He does upright rows.
Okay, yeah.
With an easy bar, right? This one, and he has double. That's what's the big one? 25 kg, 20 kgs in 40 pounds. 40 pounds. Yeah.
55.
55. 2 of these on each side. And he does, And here we have it again. You have world champions, knees caving in. And now we walk around saying nobody's supposed to do it. Now, there might be an imbalance by normal people where the inner thighs are stronger than the outer thighs, so it pulls in. So you teach them, come, let's pull those knees a little bit out. Let's give those outer thighs some muscle. Maybe we need some stretching in your hips, so let's push them out a little bit. Totally fine. But let's not walk around that this is a death sentence for people if their knees start caving in. And another conversation I read on Instagram was like, this is even now a conversation. Straight back in a deadlift. So again, we have Camp 1 says your back should never, Jefferson curl is the death for your spine. And then you have the other part that says it doesn't really matter what your lower back does, even if it's a 500-pound deadlift. So I'm like, guys, come on. And then they throw papers at each other.
Oh,
right?
God, the paper throw. Oh, I can't. This study, dude, I could find a study that says broccoli turns your hair purple if you eat enough, if I really wanted to. I bet you I could find a paper that says that.
Exactly.
Now,
So
I will say, oh, go ahead, sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just to like, for anyone listening, just to like caveat all of this stuff is, right, like there's degrees of this. And also a lot of times people put the blame where the blame doesn't deserve to be put. For example, you were 52 years old. You've never worked out a single day in your life. You sit at a desk all day long. Day one, you walk in and you try to do a deadlift you're learning deadlifts, and you get up to like a 32 kilo kettlebell, let's just say, and you pull your back. No way in hell was that the kettlebell deadlift. It was the 51 years of your back is tight, your hips is blah, blah, blah. So the deadlift, because you had a little round in your back. Your back was a little rounded on your last couple of deadlifts, and now your back is all jacked up.
That last drop.
Had nothing to do with that kettlebell deadlift. It had everything to do with the 51 years before that. So the Olympic lifter whose knees cave in, it's like, you can adjust to that. I'm not telling you squat with your knees and toes in line for your entire life and then one day try 150 kilos with your knees caving in. No, it's the body can adapt, and there are ways you can work around it. But if you're brand new to something and you try something with crappy form and then it hurts, like that's not what me and you are saying right now. There's a difference.
Amen. Oh man, amen to this. It's always the middle ground. And the example with the 52-year-old, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. That's what it was.
Yep.
Just that last drop, because you have been destroying your spine for the rest 50 years by not engaging it.
Right.
By not moving it, by not strengthening it. And now, boom, here we go, and this happens. Right?
Yep.
That's not the kettlebell. Exactly. I love this. We shouldn't blame. Oh, man, that's so powerful. We shouldn't blame. We put the blame. How did you say it? We put the blame on stuff where the blame shouldn't be. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. That's about how I would put it. It's like it wasn't. Yeah, you said it best. It's the straw that broke the camel's back. It was like it wasn't that we're putting the blame on the piece of equipment or the movement pattern or whatever it is, when it's the 51 years of not doing it or doing anything before.
So powerful, my God. Yeah, it's not that one kettlebell deadlift that you did. It's those 52 years of not doing it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
your body's
that's
not used to anything. Yeah, you see it all the time. Which is unfortunate, but it's something that kind of just pops up a lot.
And let us just think that example through. So, and because this happened here as well, and this forges your skills as a coach.
Yes.
The more experienced you get, the less you are jumping into alarm mode when somebody says, "Oh, that hurt." I remember the first time I was like, oh my God, let's call 911. I can't. Oh my God. Oh, you signed the waiver, right? Oh, thank God. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the first time, and then the more experience you get, here's what I'm telling people. There's also, I wouldn't even say scientifically proven, but I use this example a lot that I've gotten from Andrew Charniga, and also very valuable podcast discussion that I've had. And he's a weightlifting scientist, Andrew Bud Charniga, and he has a blog. It's called sportivnipress.com. And I read a lot of it on it. So I'm not into the weightlifting stuff, but I read a lot about it because, like you, I see the parallels between kettlebells and most definitely, right? Somebody once said the kettlebell is a poor man's barbell. Exactly, that's what it is. So,
Yeah, that's about right.
so Andrew said there's two types of internal resistance that human beings face, and I'm paraphrasing this, right? So he said it differently, but I'm paraphrasing. Number one, the healthy internal resistance is this one, right? So if I extend my elbow, right, my biceps make sure that I don't break my elbow, right? So if I pull it in, it's always the internal resistance that makes sure that joints don't go above their range of motion. That's the healthy and internal resistance. Then we have the unhealthy internal resistance, and he brought up the example of NFL players, NBA players, soccer players with the so-called non-contact injuries, where he says, how is it possible that an NBA, NFL, and soccer player hurts by not getting in contact with another athlete, so non-contact, and it's always the ankle, always the knee, to a certain extent, while on the other spectrum, you have a weightlifter dropping 160 kilograms on their knees, walking away unscathed. Why is that? He said because the weightlifter, and that's why he's so big on flexion or bending to the full degree. He says when you tell your joint or teach your joint to always move, he says in the foot alone, there's a lot of bones in the foot ankle and ankle alone, right? So if we don't go ATG or don't go if it's not with the one squat, you can do a lunge. That's just go into full flexion as far as you can. If you don't do this, you build up the unhealthy internal resistance. And this rears its ugly head when you trip or fall, for example. Because when you trip, all of a sudden, your joint, who has never been into full flexion, now explosively has to go into full flexion, which builds up this internal resistance, which has to dissipate somewhere. And that creates the injury.
Yeah,
So
I like that. Wait, what's that?
It's a very, very interesting point of view. And that's a great explanation as to why it makes sense to go ATG or why it makes sense to go into full flexion. But then here comes the coach again, working with regular people, right? Understanding the nuances. Saying, bro, it's not possible for this person to go down. And I don't want to hurt them. They have never moved in their life. Let's just be happy with a quarter squat. Wow, the first time they feel their glutes, how awesome is that, right? And you have people who don't feel their back, right? When I tell them you have, when you have the kettlebell overhead in the top fixation, right? And then I tell them, okay, now you pull your humerus, your upper arm down into the shoulder blade. This is done by that big muscle that you have right here. Then I show it to them, right? I hold them, they do it. They're like, I don't feel that.
Yeah.
Because there's no connection to your brain, no kinesthetic literacy. So let's build up to this. But you never see this on Instagram. You never see nobody or rarely, because that's boring stuff.
I was just gonna say it's not sexy.
And you mentioned this in the beginning that I wanted to jump back to. You said we have to make it look sexy because we have to sell it. I get it. And we can summarize this in one sentence that I use a lot. First, we have to give people what they want, and then we give people what they need. And I don't call it clickbait. I call it legit bait.
Yeah, I like
right?
that.
I'm baiting you in because I know otherwise you wouldn't watch the video. But then I give you some form of what I promised in the title.
Right?
Right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I call it, like I said before, playing the game. You gotta do it a little bit because you can't be too coachy. It's marketing. Look, at the end of the day, it's marketing, right? You can't be too analytical. If I put up a 3-minute, well, actually, no, you can't make reels more than 3 minutes, but you get the idea, right? If I put up a super boring here's how we're gonna gain the most muscle, but we're gonna do 5 by 5. Like it's that no one's watching that, right? And I could be the smartest person in the entire world, but it doesn't work. Which actually kind of leads me into this is what I wrote down before. I'm happy we kind of got here. Is I always use the term your personality is your business card. And I stole that from Gary Vee, so I can't take credit for that. But this kind of same concept leads into just personal training in general. And this goes up for social media and just working with people in general. Is you can be the smartest person in the world if you're kind of an asshole or you're not fun to hang out with, or if you can't make a class fun. Like if group fitness is supposed to be fun, we're going to the Olympics in group fitness. It has to be fun. So if we make it too analytical, or you're not the best coach, like you could put together the best workout, have the best nutrition plan. If I can't, especially in personal training, if I can't hang out with you and talk to you for an hour, like this isn't going to work, right? And then again, vice versa.
Forget it.
It's like, you know, I ran into a kid recently. He was like, hey, like, do you have some advice for me? I'm like, this is a customer service industry. First and foremost, get as smart as you want, get something, do what you like and all that stuff. But if you can't have conversations with people and interact with people and like, you know, get them to like you and you get to know them, like this isn't going to work out long term. It's just not. And that's same thing with the social media. If you can't, you know, so in in-person training, I would describe it as like people skills, and then on social media, it's marketing, right? You could be the smartest, best coach ever, but if you don't have those in their respective fields, like you're just not going to be able to get your information out there, and it's irresponsible. You should be able to do those at least a little bit, because if you truly have a message you want to get out there, being like, oh, I suck at marketing, I don't want to do all that. It's like, okay, well then you're doing anybody who could benefit from your stuff a disservice.
If you say this, I'm not good at marketing, you are giving your business the death sentence.
Yeah, you have to.
Let's put it this way. I don't like it. It's not a field that I feel like, like you mentioned, wow, I want to become the best marketer ever. No, I want to build a kettlebell legacy. That's my thing. I love that tool, and I want to do this for the rest of my life, and want to teach as much as I can. That's my thing. That's where I burn. That's where my passion is, and where I even found out where I had recently I had two sales calls, and now I don't know where I don't have it here. I have a 7-page sales script. Oof. 7 pages.
I like that.
Right, coming from the marketing guy, where he's telling you if you're selling off of feelings, you lose. The sales process is a systematic approach where you first of all, and I love how he puts it, where you first of all have to understand, is this person a good fit? And being, you know, I've been a little bit longer in the game now. 3 clients, 3 prospects, I told them all, this is not for you. I even had one already, the bill was out, sent them the bill. They were ready to pay. They were ready to start next month. A couple of weeks later, I was thinking about the conversation that I had with this guy, and I was like, even during the conversation, sometimes you should listen to your intuition, man. I was like, no, that's not going to work. And then some things turned out a little bit different. I was like, okay. And other factors came into play. And 2 days ago, I wrote him a text message, said, brother, you know what? I don't think our coaching's for you. Because this is not going to work. Because of this and this and this and that. Hey, if you want to have a call, let's have a call about it. Let's have a conversation because I want to talk to you. I know I've promised you that spot, but I can't give it to you. But let's have a discussion on the phone. You know what he did? He read it. He didn't respond. So I'm like, okay, see? Case in point. Right. Because if he was really into it, he read it. He was like, bro, let's have a conversation, man.
Yep.
Because
like,
this
no,
is
let me.
No. This is important to me.
Yep.
What is it? Because not the money. And yeah, like I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I can turn down money and say, it's not about this. And so that's the sales process. So you have to be a good fit, right?
Yep.
And when you are a good fit, then I'm going to explain to you how it all goes down. And that's a process that I don't feel very comfortable with yet.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at it. But it's like, no, it's when I talk about kettlebells, I'm authentic. I shine, right? And when it's a sales process, I know I use my oratory skills. They work. but I still have to get more comfortable with it. But I don't really like it.
Yeah.
But I've realized, here's one thing that a German sales coach told me. He said, if your business doesn't grow every year, you're losing for one simple reason. Your market has grown every year. Therefore, your business should too. If it doesn't, your competition is taking away your clients.
I never really thought about it like that.
And when you think, I love the marketing guy. His name, the agency is called King Kong, by the way, and his name is Sabri Subi from Australia. He says business, and he doesn't say this alone. I read a book, or I'm in the process of reading a book from Frank Sluthman, I think is his name. He's a CEO. He brought like 3 companies to over 10 or $100 billion. He said business is war. Mm-hmm. And both of these guys quote Sun Tzu. You know the book, The Art of War?
I haven't read it, but I know it. I have it.
Thank God, there's this one quote, man. And guys, if you don't take any, I think you're taking a lot away from this podcast. But this one quote, he says, "What's the goal of war, or what's the goal of victory or winning?" The answer, Sun Tzu's answer, is breaking the enemy's will to fight. Wow, that's 300 stuff, brother, right there.
Absolutely.
So let's put it back into marketing. Mm-hmm. If that's you, you're saying, I'm not good at this. You have lost the will to fight. Mm-hmm. So Pat and I, we're both here taking your clients.
Cool. Yeah, cool. If you want to bow out, I got you.
That's what it is, man.
And the same guy I was telling you about before, Sean, everything you're saying is like right on cue with him. You really like him. I'm going to send him. I'm going to send you his Instagram. Do it. He always makes this. He says this: if someone is a fit, right? So for people who don't like sales, because personal trainers usually don't like sales calls. We like training. We like doing that. So learning the sales of it is usually uncomfortable for us. We don't like it. I'm the same way. I hate it. But he said, if someone is a fit, and you know they're a fit, and you know that you can help them, you have a responsibility to sell them on it. And I'm like, yeah, because then you feel a little, you don't feel like you're selling them a kettlebell program. You're like, I'm going to fix your problem, which at the end of the day is what we're doing. And he does a really good job of explaining it. And it's always, like you said, I'm not selling you on a kettlebell. I'm selling you on fixing your problems. It's not the solution, or it's not the
method.
It's not the method. It's the solution. I'm selling you on that.
But the method is so powerful that it's going to give you the results in shorter time.
Exactly.
Because people always be like, well, how? 30 minutes, how? Well,
I'll find out.
Let me show you. All right.
Yeah.
And
let me show you.
Here's what you said, Sean, right?
Yeah,
the German sales coach, his name is Dirk Kräuter. He says the same thing. He says, if your offer has transformative potential, you are doing your client a disservice if you don't sell it to them, because you know it's going to transform their lives.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's
what we do.
It's what we do. And like, if the option is they don't buy it and don't fix their problem, or they do buy it and do fix their problem, it's like, obviously we want that one.
Yes.
So it's like, go get that. And it's your job to then make that happen.
Exactly. And understanding the sales process, right? And understanding, and I like how this conversation steered a little, and see, that's why I told you in the beginning, the conversation goes anywhere. I don't care.
Love it.
Right? Because I've talked about with people with kettlebells only, then we talked about other stuff. So I really love this.
So I love the business side of things. It's fun.
Me too.
It's new.
Because it's new. Yeah. Because we're used to kettlebells and we love it, but then when you can share experiences in a new topic, that's always very, very interesting. And like I said, we have a lot of coaches, a lot of trainers tuning into the podcast, which I get a lot of feedback to. It's like I get feedback from coaches all around the world, right? Like, hey, I'm listening to that stuff. It's powerful. It's powerful. And again, if I don't share this, or if we don't share this, again, we're doing a disservice. Mm-hmm. Because, hey, I did the same mistake. I was like, here's that great kettlebell workout, because the kettlebell, blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares, man.
Yeah.
And nobody outside our little bubble. Or outside my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, do you know Neil Patel?
The name sounds familiar, but
you're probably he's also a marketing, but rather search engine optimization, Google stuff.
Okay.
So Neil's very cool. And Neil recently shared a video. I watched it and I was like, the whole video, I was like, Because 2 things here. First of all, when you have an audience, right? Let's say it's your Instagram audience. In my case, it's the YouTube audience. You might make a video that garners a lot of views, like how to get explosive growth with only one kettlebell in only 5 minutes in 30 days or less. Right? So a lot of people tune in. Wow. So you get a lot of clicks, a lot of views, your channel grows. Great. But he says, most of the time, these are not qualified leads at the end of the day for my business. But if I make more a specific problem, 37 best stretches for self-employed business owners over 40 who want to get in shape in 30 days. Not a lot of views, but very interesting leads, right? Yep. And wow, this dichotomy, I was like, man, it's so true.
Yeah.
So true. And Dirk Kuyter, the sales coach, he said something else. He said, the biggest problem that he sees business owners do, and especially influencers, is he says, influencers don't have an optimized sales process or funnel down the line. Right. And if you don't have this, you have to imagine, it's like a rain dance. The content that you put on your Instagram or your YouTube or your Snapchat or whatever have you is a rain dance. So it creates a lot of rain. But if you don't have the buckets to catch the raindrops, you're losing.
Yep. So I like that you said that. So two things. One of them was my coach gave me like a pretty decent schedule. I don't really follow it to a T, but I have gone through spurts of following it in terms of like, so I have when I say my coach, I mean my business coach. He hold on one second. I'm just going to write something down before I forget it. Optimization. So he gave me a good schedule of there's like, I forget the third one, but there's like, it's like, okay, 1 week you post the first thing you said, 30-minute blast with one kettlebell to get shredded, right? It's like, cool. You're going to get a ton of people viewing that, but at low quality. And then, so you put, you have posts maybe for 7 days in a row of like, cool, let me build my channel with this. And then you go 7 days of value add. It's like, cool. Oh, all these people, wow, this and that. And then it's like, all right, cool. Now we're going to talk about 5 exercises you can do with a kettlebell if your shoulder hurts. And right. And then that's next week. And then that whole next week. And then you just kind of go through and layer those. There was a third one and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was just different ways to like you said, it's not as messy as like the rainstorm, right? So it's like, cool. All these posts they have intention, right? I'm going to get a ton of views and grow my channel. But now I'm going to actually try and get some people. And this might get 1 million views and this might get 500, but these 1 million views, 3 people might go into my funnel. These 1,000 views, I might get 20 people in my funnel because I'm really talking to them.
Oh, it's exactly what it is.
Yep.
It's exactly what it is.
And that was something I learned. And I literally, when I have followed that, like you notice it. It's like, cool, this many. So to just give you an idea, I don't do high ticket stuff right now. It's something I'm building towards. I have like a subscription program that I'm just trying to, it's the only thing that I do though. It's like get everybody in there. It's kettlebells and bodyweight subscription program, but like funnels and leads, all the same concepts. So it's like, cool. I have this week of posting where it's like, all right, I'm going to try and get a lot of eyes on the channel. And then once I get those eyes on it, I'm going to give them the value and be like, hey, by the way, if this makes sense, you're going to get this in this program. Go try it out. And anytime I do that follow that schedule, I notice an increase in there. And it tends to work out pretty well, but it's more organized. And like you said, because there's 2 different types of posting is, the virality type of stuff and then the value add. And because they're both super important.
Both are important. And wow, again, we're going so different ways. It's so fascinating, man. It's when you are, I talked to Eric, I shared the same story. So I'm going to make it brief. I don't want to always say the same thing on a podcast, but I mean, it turns into the same thing. So if we hear it more often, then we're going to learn more, or it's going to stick. So there's this one channel. He's called Heldersteine, I think. I think
I'm still. Lego guy?
Yeah, I think I'm still pronouncing the name wrong. It's Heldersteine. Doch, I think. Doch, yes.
That I don't know. Yeah, you would know better than me in that.
Yeah. So, and he said this. He said sometimes we have the bomb exploding on our channel when he gets a cease and desist letter from Lego that he shares, and of course it's drama, so everybody tunes in, so he gets 1 million views. Awesome. And then he also says, so let's get back to the normal. Not everybody see it. Bombs don't explode all the time. But of course, I'm taking the views. But let's focus on what we do.
I like that.
And I use the same principle. It's like, okay.
Great.
And let me tell you what I just did. I recently did the 37 best stretches that millions of beginners use. Got like 1,000 views. Did very bad. Then I have what I started, and I'm so thankful I found this. I'm now doing our weekly workouts. We call them WOWs, workout of the week. I do them, we do them on Monday. We film them. Then we post them on Instagram. Then I do a YouTube video and I share it in our academy because I have the same thing. I have high ticket, but I also have a course system. And by the way, this one guy said, don't do course because it's low value and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I got it. High ticket is very lucrative. But let's not forget, it's not just the money, man. There's a lot of people out there who can only afford $20 or $49, and this is gonna change their life. And if it's only one person out of 500, I'm all for it. It's not just about the money, man. There's some people who need a solution that is more budget oriented. And why not be the guy who serves it to them? You can have both. You can have subscription. I went on Google. I was like, what should I do? Subscription or one-time payment? So this one post comes up that says, why not do both?
Yep.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Right?
Yep.
So, and here's my content strategy. Well, like, okay, on Monday it's the workout of the week, which I'm hesitant to share the secret, but I'm gonna share with you. So I do this workout of the week, right? And then the next week, it's always Monday. That's the YouTube day, and then I am pretty open because I focus my Sabri calls this high value activities. As an entrepreneur, you have to focus your energy not on content all day because this is not what moves the money needle. You have to focus on other things, writing copy, pushing out ads, improving your funnel, improving your process, your strategy, your product, right? So these are high value activities. So then just recently somebody posted, tagged my name, tagged Lebestock at I think his name was Michael, I forgot the name, an MMA fighter. 2 million followers.
Oh, you did it with the kettlebell swing. Mike Chandler?
Michael Chandler.
Yeah,
Michael Chandler.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so here's my thought process. I looked at the swing. I was like, looks great. My first thought was like, well, let's not react to it. My second thought was, no. Famous person, MMA fighter, let's bring in some new folks.
Yeah.
Let's do a reaction. The swing looks solid. We can always learn something from it. Blah, 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 blah. So I did the video. Here we go. It did 12K views. Great. Way better than the other one.
One of them.
Yeah. Awesome. See? So then you pull in, and of course, and I have this thumbnail, like, oof, right? And you're like, oh, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. But this thumbnail attracts folks. What am I supposed to do? I have to play the game, right?
Yeah.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
There you go.
So then I know these are strategies that I know. That's content that attracts people to grow the channel. But then I have specified content that I do on a regular basis to build my authority, that people know, okay, this guy's actually an expert. He doesn't just do reaction type content, right? And second of all, it helps my target audience. Mm-hmm. And I started plugging the lead. I'm like, hey, we help busy over 40s get in shape in 30 days with only 30 minutes of kettlebell training per week. Boom, there you go. Hey, if you're interested, check the first link in the description.
There you go.
And here's that one secret I'm going to share with you. I'm hesitant to share it, but I'm going to do it. So everybody who's tuning in, you're in for a treat. Here's what I do. I go on ChatGPT. I do the stuff, right? I do the video. I mean, this is all. I produce content myself, but I use GPT heavily to support my work because it's really awesome. If you try to use GPT as a means of being creative, I think this is where the line is told. Is like, man, you got to come up with your original ideas. But come on, man, writing a YouTube description, let ChatGPT do it. So here's what I do. I'd say, okay, I did a workout video. I had 4 exercises. It was a Tabata system, 40-20. I have a swing, a squat, a goblet, a press, and a farmer's carry. So we did 4 rounds. Every round is blah, 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 blah. Great. So give me an extensive YouTube subscription, and I started incorporating this strategy that I'm sharing, which works like magic, and give me relevant SEO keywords so that if somebody types in kettlebell workout on Google, he finds the workout.
There you go.
And this racks in views all the time. It says, bro, you've got more views, but outside from YouTube. So I think my SEO strategy works. And I was like, I've talked to somebody. I was like, what is SEO? He said, simple keywords. I'm like, yeah, but what does that mean? He says, well, you have a kettlebell workout, then keyword kettlebell workout. I'm saying, that's it? He said, yeah, that's search engine optimization. And hey, YouTube is owned by Google.
Yep.
What do you think that is?
That's smart. That's the description. Like that's not the title of the video. That's like underneath in the
That's the
description.
description. And then ChatGPT, I always say relevant keywords. He comes up with 10 keywords, I copy paste, boom. It takes, and sometimes the algorithm picks it up and it's really SEO is like Google boom, right? And sometimes it doesn't. But here's the thing, I'm just including it. Hey, and here's another thing. The view quality from those people, and you've probably seen this too. You type in something on Google, then this video pops up, and Google has been so advanced now that they show you, hey, this 10-second clip of this 10-minute video is your solution. So you watch it, and then you immediately click away. So I do not expect a high qualified lead.
Yeah.
But hey, it gives me views.
Hey,
it pumps up the authority, and hey, views on long format videos means more money.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. And at the end of the day, too, you never know. So, like, I always remember when my coach, when I was telling him what I wanted to, like, start, I wanted to start, like, this low-ticket subscription. He's like, these might be long sells, right? Someone might come across that 10-second video or that 10-second clip of yours, look at it, and then go away. And then next time they go onto YouTube, all of a sudden you're happen to pop up in their suggested videos. It's like, ooh, oh, wait, I know Mike Chandler. He's doing kettlebell swings. Wait, what's this guy have to say on it? Go on it. Then they watch that. Well, it was like 3.5-minute video. Boom, then they go away. And then that just kind of like leads into it. Next thing you know, they're watching a longer video about how to do a kettlebell snatch because now they're a little more interested. Oh, this guy has a 30-minute, 30 minutes in 30 days. Like, cool, let me try that out. But that might take 6 months. Yes. And like, that's okay. Because like just those, that's what I try and tell myself. Just a little bit, you never know who might just get a little attached. And then go. Exactly. I mean, that's how I'm here right now. I started getting into kettlebells and like I tried really hard, not started getting into it. I was diving more into the kettlebells and I try not to like scroll on TikTok and Instagram because those are like my main platforms. So when I want to like kill some time and like binge watch stuff, I go on YouTube. And I was like, oh, I'm into kettlebells right now. Like, let me see. I'm interested to like see, how does somebody else teach a snatch, whatever it was. Like down the road, then I came across you. Then you just kept popping up. I subscribed, this and that, and now I'm here. It's like, that's how like just a little, it's like the snowball can then turn into the avalanche type of thing happens. And I was literally the reason that sticks with me is because I was a client on that side of thing. I started following this mobility guy. 3 years later, I started his subscription. I paid $60 a month for 7 months. Boom. Like it was worth it for him to just keep doing this thing. I eventually got in. Like so many people who follow me or follow you right now might not buy anything from you for a year and a half, but everything's just going to slowly start to like sink in and then eventually they'll do it. So like that person coming across, it might be a low quality view then, but in a year and a half, they might be buying stuff from you.
Maybe it's different. Exactly.
And so especially with low ticket stuff, it's like, you never know who might just be like, screw it, I'll try this for a couple months.
And even, yes, that's what I've realized as well. The difference then, it's a low purchase decision. So he said, it's not something that you need to spend like hours on researching. Come on, it's $50, man. That's it. Let's start this.
Right.
I jump into the yoga class. Come on, it's $50. Okay.
Right.
But if it's 3,000, I got to do some research, man.
For sure.
Right.
Whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and that's the difference between high ticket and low ticket. And I think if you want to be a versatile coach who reaches a broader audience and who's very strong in his niche, I think both are feasible. Low ticket as well as high ticket.
I agree.
It doesn't have to be high ticket only because, and like I said, it's the legacy. You can share value with people who don't have the money and they love you for it. They love you to death. Great. But then the high ticket stuff is like where people want your time.
Right.
So if you want my time, of course you have to pay more. Right?
And like, like you said, there's at the end of the day, we kind of want to help people. And like, there's going to be the people who can't afford a high ticket. And there's also going to be people who like, don't need that. They're like, hey, just tell me what to do. I don't need to talk to you every week.
I've realized that well. And
I always remember, like, that's me. I'm like, in terms of like working out, like, just tell me what to do. I'll go do it. And I always remember, I was in a coaching mentorship beforehand. I'm not going to say who it was, but they only taught high ticket. And I always remember there was someone in the Facebook group who was like, hey, like, I get the high ticket, we're doing this and that, but like, what if I have some people who are looking for a low ticket that, I think this could help them, this and that. And the guy who like owned the company basically commented, he was just like, why would you do that? And in my head, I was like, just to help people out. Like, because like some people can't afford whatever it is, 3, 4, 5, 8, $900 a month. It's like some people can afford 30. And in my head, that was the moment I was
thought
like,
that too. I was
like,
same
because
thought process. Yeah.
because too, especially like a one-time buy program, let's say, like how long is it going to take you to write a 6-week kettlebell program and just throw it out there to people and whatever it is? It's like,
it's so
why
simple.
not?
There's not a lot of time and investment on your part.
Yeah.
And of course, and I always hear the same objection then. Why would you do it? Well, because I want to help people. Well, but 99% people who sign up for a course don't do it. Yeah, but maybe that 1% changes his life.
Right. And it's, at the end of the day, it's
right.
like,
We change people one at a time.
Right.
And I mean, on our academy, we have, I think 8,000 people on the academy and 15,000 enrollments or something.
Wow.
And of course, I can tell you, yes, not a lot of people finish the course. But not a lot of people finish reading a book. Not a lot of people finish a video game. Should they stop selling video games and books? Of course not. They still do it. So let's stick to it. And why would you do it? Because it's not all about money. And even Frank Slootman, the CEO of those companies, I think the first one was ServiceNow, not Data Domain, ServiceNow, and now he's with Snowflake. And these companies are data driven, something like this. Sometimes I don't understand what he's talking about, but it's fascinating when he goes into the details of the product and stuff. And he says, money is a byproduct. You have to have a clear goal and strategy in mind where you want to go. And money alone doesn't cut it.
No.
And Simon Sinek, you know Simon Sinek?
Yep.
He says the same thing. Your why. Okay, most businesses can tell you what they do. They can tell you how they do it, but they can't tell you why they do it. And if your answer is money, that's not enough.
No.
And then it's like, especially in the health space, yeah, but you want to help people, right? Yeah, I want to help people. So let's just do high ticket.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so stop saying help people. Say you want to make money.
Which this probably is the best. If that's your only goal, you're in the wrong field. Like we swing kettlebells and do push-ups. Like we're not here to be billionaires. If I wanted to do that, I'd be a stockbroker.
Exactly. even though I think you can make a very decent living, I think you can really build fortunes with this. I mean, look at Pavel, look at all these guys. It is possible. It is possible. But here's the thing: it shouldn't be. It is an incentive, of course. Of course, it is. But it shouldn't be your only driving factor, because if it is, this is not going to help you grind through thousands of videos to build an audience and to become an authority and expert in the field. And that's the major difference. We can all run around, go on ClickBank and sell some kind of die-hard programs, make a lot of money, and never build no legacy at all. Never be recognized as an authority, never be invited to somebody else, never have somebody shake your hand or write you an emails in tears where they say, listen, man, your stuff changed my life. And that's not going to happen if you only focus on money, because people see through it all the time.
All the time.
All the time. I see through it as well. I'm like, of course you have to make money. Everybody understands it. But man, the value you're providing, my God, man. Of course I'm going to pay for this.
Yeah.
But if I feel like it's a ripoff, I'm like, come on, man. It's just about the money.
Yep.
And I don't know if you're familiar with this. So in the online coaching game, here's what I hear often. It's like, yeah, I'm tired of the grind. Okay, what kind of grind? Yeah, the coaching grind. I get it to a certain extent. You can automate it to a certain extent. I get it. But here's where you lose me. Yeah, I want to work from the beach. You lose me, man.
Yeah.
You want to work from the beach. So let's unpack that motivation. It can happen. It can happen. But let's unpack that motivation. You are front and center then. Your well-being is front and center. You want to live the lavish life, sip some, I don't know, Coke Zeros or Diet Cokes at the beach, check your laptop every now and then, and live the Andrew Tate lifestyle. That's what you want. Okay. If that's your goal, that's what it is. But that tells me your motivation. My motivation, of course I want to build a legacy. Of course I have the incentive to be financially independent, but I also am a servant. I want to help people. You said it. We're in the service business.
Yeah. And that's I feel like you'd be the same way in that sense that like, yeah, cool, it'd be great to work from the beach, but also at the same time, like I like this industry in a big part. Like I like kind of interacting with people. So like I could build my online business to $8 billion a year. I'm still gonna train people in person.
You
I
love it.
didn't
You
I
love it.
didn't get into this industry to sit at my desk all day. It's a good benefit. I can create some financial freedom doing that, but like I like being in person with people. You own a gym, you like training people in person and talking to them and
Yes.
building those relationships. So like
Yes.
I don't want to work
Yes.
from the beach because I like being in this industry. I also think it's important just from a coaching standpoint to like constantly be with people and like kind of have like a boots on the ground type of thing.
Sharpen the
Um,
skill. Sharpen the
yeah,
skill. Yeah, yeah.
because you lose it if you don't ever train people.
Oh, 100%.
I would assume I've never not, but like that's, I'm not in this to work from the beach because I like to train people in person. Maybe it gives me a little bit more freedom. Maybe I can go away for a longer weekend more often here and there, whatever. But like, I got to be in it because that's what I like about this industry. That's what's so fun. The online stuff is just like nowadays it's great because you can reach so many other people, and really build a business. But in terms of like, the life that I'm creating in a sense, I still need to be in the trenches
Yeah,
because I just like that.
me too. I like being in the trenches. I think it always sharpens the sword. I never want to lose the skill. I want to even get better at it. The only thing where I agree is my time, the more I do it, becomes more valuable.
Yes,
So let's say
for
like 10 years
sure.
down the line, 10 years down the line, okay, I mean, I've had it. I've had it. I've done certifications where I charged, what was it? 1,800, no, 1,000 bucks, Swiss francs. That's like, let's say $1,200 US dollars
Okay.
for a day. Great. And that was like, wow, that's powerful. So I was really happy. I was like, wow. That's like 4 years ago. Now, recently, somebody asked me to have a seminar and to get certified, blah, blah, blah. It was cool guys. I think they're in Michigan. And I said, here's the thing, 6K for 2 days. That's my time. A couple of months ago, somebody asked the guy for the seminar from Italy. I said 4K for 2 days. So I'm constantly raising prices because my time
Okay.
becomes more valuable. So that's the only thing. My market price increases because I can deliver more value, but I'm still going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm still going to show up because I love this.
Right.
And maybe let's like 20 years down the line, I step back a little bit and say, okay, now I can decide what I want to do. But I love what you're saying. Sometimes in the health space, it's like people, yeah, it's the grind, it's the grind. But hey, why did you get started in the first place, man? Working with people, helping them, transforming their life, one-on-one or one-to-many, doesn't matter, right? It should always be at the core. The core of your mission should always be in line with your values. And if your value is money only, like I said, hey, I don't want to judge you. Go ahead. But that's not what I want to do. I want to build a legacy. I love the tool, and right. I said it a couple of times now, but it is what it is, man. But hey, Pat,
Yeah.
let me just jump back before.
Yeah.
Keep your train of thought, but let's just jump a little bit back into the training.
Okay.
So because I started this with Eric, and I need to do this with everybody. Your regular training, how you said 80% is kettlebells. What kind of weights? What kind of exercises? What other modalities? What's your regular workout? It's like the reset workout, which I saw you've did a share on it on
Yeah.
IG, right? Which was awesome. So what does that look like in your case? Like the typical workout?
So a typical workout is I usually have like one exercise, one or two exercises at like the top, right? Those are kind of like the main things I'm going to focus on for the day. That is usually some sort of snatch, clean and press. Maybe this and like I might throw like some body weight stuff in the middle, like pull ups or dips or something, just like kind of
Yeah.
keep me busy in the middle of it. Um, so I'll have that, or I really like kettlebell complexes. So I'll do like 3 swings, 3 cleans, 3 push press. Do the other side, rest for a little bit. I treat that stuff as like that's like kind of my heavy stuff. That's where I'm gonna push. Might be snatches, might be clean and press, something like that. That's usually going to be the bulk of it. And I'll do like anywhere from like 5 to 8 sets of that, depending on kind of what I want for the day, how much time I've got, how much I feel like pushing. And that's where I try and push the weight. And then So I do like one or two of those exercises. So again, let's just say it's for the example, let's say it's a kettlebell complex, and then I'll superset that with like dips or push-ups or pull-ups, something like that. And then I go into like a bigger superset where I like my accessory lifts, and that's where I might do like double front squats, single arm push press, and let's just say single arm rows, right? Something like that. And I'll kind of do like maybe 5 or 6 sets of that superset. So that'll be a little bit more of like the accessory type of stuff.
So how would you break it down in reps? So let's just, because I really want to get a grasp of this. So let's say like you have to snatch, the clean and press, and the squat or something like this, right? So then it's a complex. Let's say it's 3 snatch and then 3 squats and 3 press, something like this, right?
Yep.
So it's one side only. So you work one side, right?
Yeah, single or
for
double,
example,
sometimes
or double. Yeah, right.
Yep.
So then, as soon as you have completed that complex, you then immediately move into body weight stuff.
Sometimes I'll do nothing, and sometimes I'll just like throw in like 5 or 6 pull-ups just to like keep me moving.
Okay. And then you like a little bit of a rest period, so that's 1 round, and then you go at it again.
Yeah, I'll probably rest for about 90 seconds and then do anywhere from like 5 to 8 sets of that.
Okay. And that's kind of like your main workout, and then you switch into something else where you still like, okay, let me use some other exercise and maybe some farmer carries or whatever have you. Yep. And you still do this complex type of stuff.
Yes, I'll do that in a circuit fashion. So that'll be like, it's exactly what you said. I'll do like, let's say double kettlebell front rack squats. Let's say I'll do 5 or 6 of those. I'll do a 200-foot farmer's carry and 6 single arm rows on each side. I'll kind of like do those in a superset. Then I'll rest for about a minute and a half, go back to the top and do 5 or 6 sets of that. That's like kind of my go-to format. I'll switch things up a little bit, but that's my go-to format. And I like that a lot. It's simple. It allows me to go heavy. I like having my focus on like one exercise, kind of like what I was saying. I treat it like I did my Olympic weightlifting. In Olympic weightlifting, you have your snatch and your clean and jerk. Like those are your bread and butters. You do a ton of those. You go heavy, and then you go into some accessory stuff. So I kind of like doing that. My cleans, my presses, and my complexes. Those are kind of like, I used to have Turkish get-ups in there. I don't do them that much anymore. Yeah, I know. I feel like everybody has this conversation.
It's that funny. I don't know if we sparked something, but it's
yeah.
Every time I talk to trainers, and please keep your train of thought. But every time we talk to trainers, and I say boots on the ground trainers who have spent time with regular people, they say the same thing.
Yeah.
Almost no get-ups, rarely snatches, just the most bang for your buck stuff, right?
Yeah.
And while please, you have to elaborate on the get-up as well. And while I think the get-up is a cool thing and it can spice up things, make things fun, I do not for a second believe and agree on this mystical, magical benefit that a get-up can provide you, even if it's heavy. Don't tell me this, man. It's not that you can roll around with a Turkish get-up and this can beat a squat, a heavy squat.
Right.
Not at all. Not in my book. Of course, you have bending, you have flexion, you have. We can say straight arm extension, right? The what the gymnasts have, the straight arm strength, but come on, man. It's a choreography, right? It's a flow. And that's, people don't like to hear it, but I'm saying it's actually one of the most popular flows that exists.
Right.
There you go. It's a flow. And people are always cussing. There's like, flows are bad. Well, the get-up is a flow.
Yeah, right. Technically, yeah, it is. You know, and like I don't not like him. I just like, for me personally, like doing them, I'm just like, I'm okay not doing them.
Yeah, me too.
So like I don't really do them with clients just for logistical purposes and time and space and having 3 people lay down on the ground in the middle of the gym. Like,
good point. Logistical purposes. Good point.
Logistics make a huge factor in my training. So when they're training other people. But yeah, so like I used to have like clean and press, snatch, complexes, and Turkish get-up as like my 4 horsemen, you could say. And those would be like the focus of my training. The Turkish get-up's kind of out of that now. I'll still do them here and there just if I feel like it.
For yourself, like right? For your own your own training.
Oh yeah. No, I'm strictly talking about for myself right now.
Yeah. 4 horsemen,
like snatches, snatches, clean and press, and like complex. I have like a decent amount of complexes that I'll kind of like cycle through. So I have some sort of like progression and like progressive overload with them, so I can or measurement. That's the word I was looking for. Some sort of measurement for them, so I'm not just completely making up a new complex every day. I do have like some in the cycle that I'll like revisit and be like, oh, I was able to go up on this one. Um, so that's kind of like
Fantastic.
where
And
and
I
then I
like
have my accessory stuff.
and I like the way you treat it. It's like, hey, back from the Olympic weightlifting days, we have the snatch and the clean and jerk being like the top dogs, right? The dominant exercises, and you are segueing into kettlebells with the same philosophy, right? Hey, snatch, clean and jerk, these are main focus lifts, and let's build everything around them. Probably not every day or all day, right? But this is kind of like
No,
your
yeah,
main.
like I'll snatch and clean slash clean and press maybe twice a week. Like it's not everything
this.
because the kettlebell is a little bit more versatile and like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, Olympic weightlifting is a sport, so you have to do those two all the time.
Yeah.
It's just like that was what it was ingrained in my brain. I like those exercises, and I also think if you can snatch and clean and press a lot of weight, you're strong. So if you focus on those, it's gonna go well.
Love it. And it's mostly heavy, right? Heavy weights that you're.
Yeah, I'm an ego lifter. I like it. I just like lifting heavy. It's just in my nature. I just like it. I'm gonna ride the train of being decently young for a little while. I'm gonna have to pull back at some point, but while I can, I'm gonna go for it. I hate the people that are like, "Oh, wait till you're older." It's like I'm not older, so like, what do you want me to do? Like,
I'm not old. I'm not old. So stop.
I'm 30. I'm in my physical prime. Everything feels
Yes.
okay. Like I can push the weight.
Yes.
And I know that. Yeah. Is there a tiny risk of me potentially jacking something up or hurting myself? Yeah. There's also the same risk every time I get in a car. So it's like I'm
And
I'm
it's
gonna lift
even
heavy.
bigger. There's an even bigger risk of not moving at all. So
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna lift
offset
heavy
that.
until I can, and it's
Love
fun,
that.
and kettlebells
Love
allow
that.
me to do that.
and especially, I think especially if you gravitate towards this. I've read once, or maybe I've heard it, that people generally, which makes sense most definitely, people tend to gravitate towards sports that they not only enjoy but also their body type is made for. Right? It
I was made for Olympic weightlifting, so
Right.
that leads into kettlebells.
Makes a lot
I'm
of sense, right?
strong for my size, is what I always say.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just gonna say I really like sports that have weight classes.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
But funny thing is, if you look at the weight of Tala Kala, what's his name? The Georgian Tala Tala something.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrew Bacharniga said he is the strongest, weakest guy. Because, relatively speaking, the North Koreans and the South Koreans beat him any day.
For sure.
These
yeah.
are the strongest man on earth, or the strongest.
I heard you talk about this with Eric. So in Olympic weightlifting, there's a formula. It's called Sinclair. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
I was listening, and I was like, I need to get in on this conversation.
Yeah, let me know.
So-
Sinclair.
so
Let me write this down.
It's not just like, oh, he weighs 200 kilos and lifted 100 kilos, or versus like he weighs 100 kilos and lifted 50, because there's obviously things change as you get different body weights. So in Olympic weightlifting, you have obviously your weight classes, but then there's what's called your Sinclair, which is a formula. I don't know what it is to compare everybody based on their body weight and how much they lifted. So like it's more so just like bragging rights. The Sinclair, there's no like medal for it, but it's like, oh, this guy lifted this, but his Sinclair was low. Oh, this guy lifted X amount, but his Sinclair was super high because he's light. So it's a cool way to just kind of, because like you said, that the Georgian guy, he probably weighs 200, like 150, 160 kilos.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, a 200
Yeah.
kilo snatch is a 200 kilo snatch, right? That's
of
insane.
course. That's
But
insane.
If you,
Yes, it is.
if you run the Sinclair numbers, he might be not at the top of the
Yeah.
list. The Lu Xiaojun weighing 77 kilos, clean and jerking 170, blows him out of the water. So I don't know what the formula is, but it's.
Could we say it's
something like that.
relative strength is probably a similar concept
yeah,
to the
exactly.
Sinclair, right?
Yeah, there's
because
like a mathematical formula for it.
interesting. Because what's his name? The late great Louis Simmons from West Side Barbell.
Oh, yeah.
He talked about relative strength a lot, and he always referenced the Russian literature, and that's the fascinating thing about it, right? When you have a 60 kilo guy or a pure muscle, I think it's Lee Kang or Lee Sang. Lee Kang is from Mortal Kombat. Yeah, that's not, but something like Lee Sang, something like, and then he does the squats where he goes up to over 200k,
Yep.
and he does it like with ease, and then deadlifts like Eddie Hall did, but just being 3 times less his size. This is just out of this world. And while it is fascinating for me to watch these feats of strength, I know from a genetic perspective, I do not have this potential to be massively strong. Yes, I could have maybe, like I've shared with Eric and other folks on the podcast, I could have maybe used a different system, which would have gotten me more results. But I felt like it's always a grind. Man.
It's a grind.
And with, of course, it is a grind. Of course, heavy weights are a grind. But it doesn't feel like the strength endurance stuff to me. Where I pick up a 24 and I work with it for 6 minutes straight.
Yep.
This is where my body shines. And where people like, you have the Bruce Lee physique, which I now internalize. I'm like, yeah. I'm a lightweight dude. I'm totally fine with that. And so since I wear the badge of being lightweight, I always want to look solid when I take the t-shirt off. So I make sure my diet is always dialed in because I want to really internalize that Bruce Lee philosophy. And that's why I was asking. So you are gravitating towards the heavyweights. It's like, yeah, I want that. I need that. And speaking of which, you've mentioned about, wait till you get older. If you do it sensible, I think you can not only get away, but you can also build a strong armor around your body as you get older. It's not like, and I think sometimes these statements come, because I had one on the call, he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, but you're 39, you're still young. Wait till you're blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I have experience with your types of people, your age group. I know you guys are in pain, but you blame the wrong thing. Your inactivity is at least 50% of the problems you're experiencing, my friend.
Yep.
So I will not feel like you at your age because I'm now doing the work to prepare myself for that age. So sometimes I feel like it comes from a point of not envy, but maybe like, wait till you're. I'm like, come on.
It's I don't know if envy's a word. It's
not envy, right? It's another word.
No, it's like,
I don't know.
I think they're
I don't
just
find
mad. They think it's experience, but it's not because you haven't lived the same experience, right? Like, if that person was like so there are certain people that I hear that from. I'm like, okay, because you've been working out since you're 15 and you're 45. If you want to tell me like, yeah, man, things get a little harder when you're older, I get it.
I get it. We all get it.
If you're 45 and you've never worked out, you're like, oh, wait till you get older, everything starts to hurt. It's like, your opinion doesn't matter to me because we lived a completely different life. Right.
Agree.
So
agree 100%.
That's it's experience. It's just lack of it.
Agree.
I mean, there are difference in experiences.
But 100%. I mean, I'm 39 now. So here's what I feel with my body. Sometimes I feel some tweaking the next day after an intense heavy kettlebell workout. And sometimes I'm like, ooh, wow, that went into my bones. I love it. But
so I feel right now.
So I feel it right now. But it doesn't feel bad. It just feels like if I know that I've put my system to work, I've red zoned it a little bit, which if we don't overdo it, I think it's healthy. I think we should even go into that zone. But then sometimes I feel stuff that I didn't feel like, let's say, like 5 or 6 years ago. Which tells me, okay, my body's reacting because, it's material that breaks down over time. We understand it. We don't live forever. But I'm totally fine with it. And then sometimes there's workouts where I'm like, now this time you're going to start with the 20.
Yeah.
Let's not put your ego, because I consider the 24 my working weight. And in many cases, I start with the 24 immediately. And sometimes my brain tells me, okay, for this workout that we now put down, let's start with the 21st.
Yeah.
I need some more extensive warm-up, right? If that makes sense. And
for sure.
same with the barbell, where I'm like, I'm so happy. I do currently the workout that I shared with Eric, the one that I do now, it's my vanity workout on Wednesday. I absolutely love it. It is an EMOM where I have even minutes or odd minutes. The first minute is 2 heavy bench presses. And for me, that's 80 kilos, 2 reps, racket, stand up, 6 burpees.
Nice.
Stand up and rest. And then I have like 30 seconds remaining on the clock. Then I go under the bar, 90 kilogram heavy squat. That's heavy for me. 2 reps, racket, 6 burpees.
Nice.
And that's my round. That's 15.
That's great.
And I always love these. While I love the heavy weights, I don't touch them as often. I rather touch them in this strength endurance type of style because I just love it. I just love it.
Yeah, because it's fun to just move like that. And
Yeah.
it's I like that you said that because that's actually part of what got me into kettlebells as well. Just to bring it back to that is like like I said before, and you can tell by now, I love lifting heavy. I like a heavy clean and jerk and a heavy snatch, like with a barbell. I love it. But like I know what doing that consistently does to me now, right? My whole life doesn't revolve around it. When I was 24 years old and my entire life was Olympic weightlifting, it was great. But look, at the end of the day, it's still a lot
Ciao,
on my
Elisa.
body.
Kör vi Stocksy. Cheers.
It's the kettlebells allow me to do that a little bit more, right? They're just not as taxing. Doing 3 clean and presses, heavy clean and presses with a kettlebell, as opposed to 3 clean and jerks with a heavy barbell, they're 2 very different things. And
100%.
that's what I like about the kettlebells is they've kind of given me a nice rejuvenation of okay, I can lift heavy. Look, I am getting older, but I'm not 100 years old yet. So like I do have to be I have to be a little mindful of things. Things are changing.
Yeah.
My whole life doesn't revolve around recovery. So like
Yeah.
I can still lift heavy. I can still get some stuff in. I get that like I worked hard yesterday, but I don't feel dead today. It's like maybe I'm not going to redline it again today, but I can still lift kind of heavy with the kettlebells and not crush myself every day because that's what Olympic weightlifting was. And it's not in a bad way. It's just that's what the sport is. I was smoked all the time. And I just can't do that right now. I have too many other things that are important.
Most definitely. Same here. And I think with the weightlifting, we also have to understand that if you always move heavy, your neuromuscular system is fried all the time.
Yeah. And I can't not move heavy. I just can't do it. At least with the bar, it's just like Olympic weightlifting is my baby.
And with the
It's
bar,
like
right?
If I can't go back to what I used to do, I'm like, I don't want to do it, which is stupid, but it's how I am.
But I mean, with heavy weights, you can still fry your nervous system to a certain extent because we just had with the client today when we worked with her. On Monday she did a more strength endurance type of circuit, which we usually do with our kettlebells, with the kettlebell, and then now it was with the barbell was heavy, and I was like, see, that's different, right? I mean, on Monday you felt like, wow, 6 minutes working with kettlebells without letting them touch the floor. Wow, that's like, everything lights up and wow, I love the sweat and boom. And now, hey, of course you can pick the weight back down, but it's really heavy. Yeah. Right? So there's a completely different aspect. And and I love it. I'm all for it. It's these different types of systems, right? That you can use or that you can apply. But I think with a very heavy barbell all the time, your nervous system really takes a toll at the end. And with a heavy kettlebell, I love how you said it. With a heavy kettlebell, it's still gonna really mess with your nervous system, but it's like you still have some energy in the tank, right? It's like, hey, wow, I feel good the next day. It's not. I love that. It's not that crushing feeling. I did volume training back in my bodybuilding days, where it's like you spend like 1 hour at the gym really pumping it out and really going heavy, and I drained. But I was really bulked up, but it really killed me. It was called a German volume training.
Okay.
And that's the type of bodybuilding training that I did with so much volume and so much time in the gym. And now I'm like, hey, man, it's just 30 minutes with the kettlebell. I'm good. I'm solid. Even with the barbell, it's like I have this beautiful 30-minute, 35-minute mark, and then I'm done.
Yep.
Which I really, really enjoy. It gives you so much time for other things in life.
Yeah, and it really is. You can do a lot with that, because I found myself kind of going a little too hard. I was probably lifting like 3 days a week, doing jujitsu twice a week, and like all 5 of those days was just balls to the wall. And I was like, I need to pull it back a little bit. So I actually, but I like working out. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something 5 days a week, maybe like 40 minutes at like an 7.5, 8 out of 10 intensity, as opposed to doing a 10 out of 10 every time I worked out. And I've been way better since I did that. And it's like, 45 minutes. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. And I've just accumulated so much more over that time frame because I feel so much better. Like I felt myself just getting drained. The central nervous system was just fried, and I'm getting stronger this way. I like it again. Like
awesome.
It's
awesome.
Way more efficient.
And at the end of the day, if you're always fried the next day, which you have to dedicate so much time to the recovery, then escuta. Inimicimento. Dichli. Ah, de gols. A coisa. Okay, it's good. So it is not that if your nervous system is fried all the time, you're not, or you probably cannot focus as much on other important activities that you need to focus on the next day, right? Exactly. So then I love. I mean, we both love fitness. We both live and breathe it. And when you are younger, you probably don't have that much responsibility. So of course you can dabble around with it. I love how you say I can dedicate more time to the recovery to it, right? I can dedicate really like, okay, I'm gonna focus on the snatch with this specific technique, blah, 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 blah. Great. Maybe it's a little bit one-sided at the end of the day if you only focus one thing, but you're young and you're focusing on this, great. But as you get older, you have more responsibilities, whether that be family, whether that be business or both. You need something that really hijacks your energy systems for 30 minutes so that you feel rejuvenated, so that you have more energy and more performance for those high value activities throughout your day or your week, right? And that comes with age, as you get a little bit older.
It does. I think this was Pavel who actually did say this, was like your workout should give you more than it takes away.
Yeah, and I love that.
I think it was him.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, okay, that's like what I was trying to articulate what I was feeling, and he said it, and you just said it should should rejuvenate you.
Yeah, and I got the idea also from him. It's like you're not supposed to drain yourself all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And because if you drain yourself all the time, you even maybe run the risk that the tool then one day is like, man, I don't feel like doing this.
Burnout, yeah.
Burnout, right? And I want to do kettlebells forever. So if I want to do kettlebells forever, as long as I'm here, I have to focus on using just as much intensity that I'm like, I can't wait to get back to it again. And that is the basic of understanding a structured program. But you mentioned it early in the beginning. I love what you said. It's like maybe sometimes it's like here and there where your wife is like, hey, I love structured stuff. And I used to be like this too. I had structured stuff. And now I'm like, I have this basic vanity day where it's always the barbell. But then let's jump in with some burpees. Let's do some burpee pull-ups, which I really fell in love with these. Like touch down to the floor, bomb back up, pull up. I love that. And now I'm throwing it in all the time.
They're great.
And it gives me so much. I love that exercise. And then I couple it with some heavy barbells. And then I started like on Wednesdays, this thought crossed my mind. I was like, Wednesday is no kettlebell day.
Okay.
Let's just stay away from that tool because I use it all the time. And this also makes sense if you look at the Russian literature where they say, sometimes you have the guys when they are in their competitive phase and they have a competition or a game, they show up. For example, a volleyball team showed up when I think they were going against the United States or something else, the Soviet Union back in the day. They showed up, they did soccer. They played soccer for 2 hours. And then the next day they went into the volleyball game. Or it was the other way around.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Yeah, because your nervous system, your brain gets completely different cues and insights, which is awesome, which is great, which makes sense. Wow. So now I'm using this during my workout week to make sure I don't lose the incentive to always keep moving with the kettlebell.
Yeah, it's good to get the other stuff in there, but and then you still have like that baseline of like your clean, your snatch, your press, this and that. It's like these are the other things, but like I said before, that pie chart. But then it's like I'm gonna have other stuff that I need to do because one, it's good for me to do different stuff, but like mentally, I got to switch things up a little because you don't want to get burnt out on it because you want to do it for the rest of your life. So that way, it's still a smart, structured program, but you're not going to the Olympics tomorrow, so it's like you can veer off a little bit.
And I think also you can veer off and venture out into different things and ideas and exercises if you have the skills and the knowledge. Like, hey,
yes, you have to earn that right to do that.
Oh, I'll have to earn the right because sometimes it's like people do program hopping or what they call it, right? They say, jump around from this and that, program hopping. I love that description. Like, got to write this down for my marketing material. Are you tired of program hopping?
Oh, yeah, I see that all the time.
Yeah, folks be like, oh, he's talking to me. So that's exactly what it is. It's like you jump back and forth. And if you're at we talked about this earlier, if you're at the beginning stage, make sure you stick to a program.
Yep.
Right? Dial in that clean, dial in that swing, dial in that snatch, dial in the squat. Make sure you build some solid layer of strength. And then you can jump around and move around and do different stuff. Right?
Yep. Yeah, you have to. And I had that conversation with someone recently. We're just using the same term. You got to earn earn the right to it. And especially for us too, it's like we're around fitness all day long. It's like when it comes for me, when it's time for me to work out, I kind of one, I don't really want to think, and I have to enjoy it because I'm already around fitness so much.
And you're already around scheduling everything.
Yes.
I
Maybe
think
that's what it is.
I think
Decision
that
fatigue.
yeah, decision fatigue because I was like, I don't want to. Come on, man. I don't want to. Now I have to schedule everything with the reps and blah blah blah. I have to write it down.
I
No,
hate doing that.
no.
For myself.
No. Let's just. Now it's 80 kilos. Last time was 75. Who cares, man?
There you go.
It's
Yeah,
weight.
who cares?
Let's go. Let's go.
There you go.
Let's go. I enjoy it. It's heavy. It's keep moving. That's what it is. And so my final question would be if you so you're rather into the complexes, right? With like 3 or 4s and 5s and 6 and something like that. Did you ever consider doing these circuit methods where you're like, hey, let's do 2 minutes of the clean and press with one side, snatch for 3 minutes with one side and stuff?
I never have. I think because I just like kettlebell sport to me looks terrifying. Like you take 10 minutes of clean and presses, I'm like, dude, no way. I think part of it is one, I'm lazy, and part of it is like I just have this like gear more towards what's it called? Just lifting heavy. Now what I will do, it's just my ego. I just like to lift heavy. It's just what I like to do, and it's what keeps me interested. Now what I will do with clients when I have a group class is let's just say the complex is, let's just use 2 kettlebells. We're going to do 3 swings, 3 cleans, and 3 presses, right? What I will do with some people is usually when I have a class is we do stations like, hey, we're going to be here for 10 minutes and you're going to keep doing that complex. You can go really heavy and push the weight. Maybe you only get like 4 or 5 sets in the 10 minutes, or you can go a lot lighter and you can go for maybe you rest for 30 seconds and you get like 8 to 10 sets in. So I always like to just like let people do their thing in class, but it also gives them the option because like some people don't really care about lifting heavy. They still want to come take class with me and have fun. So I personally don't do it myself that much, but I'll do that with other people, kind of be on a little bit more of a time base and be like, hey, if you want a conditioning response from this, then you can go ahead and do that. And some people like that better.
I love that. It's a great idea. You have a station like, let's say like, hey, we have 3 exercises, 2 swings, 2 press, 2 squat. We're here for 10 minutes. Let's just move. Let's do that. Boom, 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 boom. That's it.
Get after it how you want to. I like
and then it's like, hey,
autonomy.
And I like that. Yeah, autonomy. I like that as well. And then you're like, hey, go heavy, but then it's going to be probably less sets because you need more rest, recovery, or go light, and then you go more into the strength endurance realm. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that. And go ahead.
Here's what I can say about the circuit method where you go for time, which might be interesting for you. Let me just say straight out the gate, the kettlebell sport idea is way too hardcore and fringe for 99% of everybody on this planet.
Yeah,
right?
That makes sense.
So that's the reason why Pavel's methodology is way more enticing and way more sexy. Because 10 minutes of a clean and press with only one arm switch with double kettlebells is, here's the thing. It is, when you look at it from the first time, you're thinking, wow, this is a death sentence. It is not if you have the skill. As soon as you've built up the skill, it's all about endurance and power. Power and endurance. That's it. And I didn't believe it. I was like, that's impossible. But I've talked to some guys and I've felt it in my own schedule, especially when I'm working with a belt, where you have this, and that's not a weight belt for your lower back, by the way.
I just learned that, by the way.
Yeah.
First, I never
and let me show it to you. Let me show it. I grabbed the belt. Let me show it to you. Here you go. So I had it custom made from my friend Arseny Zhernakov. I also had him on a podcast, so look at this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's custom made.
I like that.
With my name inside, with the flag. And here's the thing about this belt. This one. This is where you rack your elbows. Right?
That makes sense.
So it's not, even though they say it, but it's not. It's not lower back protection. It's all about being able to fully rest and recover in a rack position with 2 heavy kettlebells.
Makes sense.
where you really go into this kyphotic position up here, right? You really relax, and that's why I think it makes a lot of sense for some people, because we're always straight and rigid like this, right? And when you relax your spine, you actually, that's what I love about the jerk when you do it the sport way, is you are actually always going into full relaxation of the T-spine like this, and then you go always into full extension. So it's always bending, extending. And as we all know, that's exactly what the body loves. Flexion, extension, flexion, extension. And in the T-spine, I think it opens up, and it opens up your chest from an area which is just fascinating for mobility.
Yeah.
And that's what the belt does. It just supports the rack position. That's why I came up with the term raw kettlebell sport. When you don't have that thing, it's raw. It's like, wow, you have to pull these things together. But with the belt, you're actually able to relax, and you pinch your skin. And that really, really hurts. And I texted Arseny. I was like, Arseny, I'm pinching my skin. What's up? He said, welcome to the club of kettlebell sport lifters.
Funny.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, with kettlebell sport, it becomes a skill, and then it's endurance. Build up the volume, and you're good to a certain extent. It's still hardcore.
Right.
And if we break it down into bite-sizable chunks, I think the beauty is in a 2-minute round.
Okay.
Where you are, try this. Where you pick up, and it can be a heavy kettlebell. For me, I can do it with the 32, but then the reps I have to go very slow. The idea is you set the timer for 2 minutes. You pick up, in your case, would be a 32 kg kettlebell, and you do one side, 1 minute with the left side, 1 minute with the right side, or you do alternating.
Okay.
And I think what that taps into, I'm wondering what your response is. When you tap into this, it just gives your body, I call it the primal flow or the primal feeling. It's the hunt and the gathering. So what I like about lifting heavy is this there's not an explosive element, even though weightlifting there is, right? But it's this just a raw strength. I love it.
Yeah.
But what I love about strength endurance is I always envision myself as the hunter. So if you're hunting an animal, you are not running full speed, or you're running very slow, but you're probably at a decent pace. But then you have to go very fast, then you have to go very slow. Then you have to kill the animal, then you have to pick up the animal. Then you have to run back because, other predators are coming as soon as they've killed the animal. So that's what I'm envisioning myself. It's kind of this hunter-gatherer type of training style. When you move up to 2-3 minutes. And I think the sweet spot is 3. When it comes 4 is the hardcore stuff.
Okay.
But you think about this, and then you can do it. That's what I love about the circuit method that we use. You pick up the kettlebell, and it doesn't touch the floor for 6 minutes. That's 2 minutes, and the classic that we use is 2 minutes of the hand-to-hand swing, 2 minutes of a clean and jerk, which can be left and right, doesn't matter. It can be 1 minute with the left, 1 minute with the right, all alternating. And finally, with the snatch, 1 minute with the left, 1 minute with the right.
I'm going to try that. I like that. That I could get. I like that.
And you can go really heavy with it. And you can even say with the rack, right, where you rest in the rack and take your time, and then it forces your body to work from a position which Thierry Sanchez he called it hybrid endurance.
Okay.
Because it's not the regular strength endurance where you do 20 reps and you stop, but it's like 6 minutes and a 32 kg, really?
Yeah,
yes.
That's a lot of time under tension.
Yes, a lot of time and attention. And if you break it up into 3 different exercises, you still have the variety. You don't go into suicidal mode where you have to just destroy one side because you do it for 5 minutes, right?
Right.
You got to give this a shot.
Yeah, I'm going to give that a shot. I like that.
And it also works with clients very well and gives you a different, I always call it the USP of kettlebells, the strength endurance part of it. And if you're very strong, of course, the kettlebell is heavier. But I believe this is where the true potential of the kettlebell lies, where you have the strength endurance realm, where it's a heavy kettlebell, and we work for 6 minutes.
I like that. I'm definitely going to give that a shot.
And it's different.
Like
I mean, when you lift heavy, right? You sweat, yes, even with a complex, but with a 6 minute set, the sweating becomes something. It's like you go into that flow state.
Yeah, that's kind of what was just coming to my mind when you were saying like the hunter-gatherer stuff. It's like that flow state. You're like right in the middle.
And you keep working with it, and everything lights up in your brain telling you to put it down. And that's another mental capacity that you're building. Like, no. We keep building. And I saw a weightlifter talk about it, and I saw somebody else talk about it. And I don't know, I think part of it comes from Dr. Yuri Verkhoshansky's book, where he talks about keeping the poker face.
Yes.
Right? Not making grimaces, but keeping it, I call it the assassin's face, where people were like, wow, these guys are lifting, the kettlebell looks like it's made out of air. Yeah, but it's a 24.
That matters. Yeah, because when you're scrunching up, like that takes energy. And
Exactly.
If you like in a mental side of things, you could like just convince yourself, like, no, this isn't that hard. Let me just focus.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've noticed myself doing that with some other stuff actually. So
Awesome.
I'm going to take that into this.
And I would even argue that this 6-minute kettlebell session circuit would probably come close to a jiu-jitsu rolling to a certain extent.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right? Because you're always, I don't do jiu-jitsu, but from my really absolute novice level of understanding what jiu-jitsu is, it is a lot of time and attention, moving, right?
Yep.
Applying pressure, then letting go, and right? It's you move
That's
like
exactly
water.
what it is.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And that's what the strength endurance realm of the kettlebell gives you.
Like that.
I would argue you have to give it a shot, and it would really,
to.
I think it mirrors the jiu-jitsu style very
I'm going
very
to
well.
make all my clients do it, and I'm going to give them your Instagram so they can come at you and attack you for me making them do it.
And yeah, it's also a great selling point, because people be like, especially if they get used to it, like, yeah, but I can also do this with dumbbells, right? Two deadlifts, 2 presses, 2 squats. I can also do it even with a barbell. But here's the beauty of it, and that's where this hybrid style comes into play that I've learned from Steve Cotter. When you use the kettlebell for its strength endurance part, which I believe is its USP, you stop grabbing the bell and you start attaching the bell to your frame.
Yep.
And that makes it an incredible special style of training, because a barbell, you have to grab it. A dumbbell, you have to grab it. But with a kettlebell, you can insert your hand inside the window of the kettlebell, and then you attach weight to your skeleton. And then I call it weightlifting. I call it weighted locomotion.
I like that.
And this completely changes the way you train, and gives your client this awesome feeling where they're like, wow, that's just, there's something special about it.
I like that a lot. I'm going to take that.
Really give it a shot.
That's real good.
Most definitely. So, brother, we've been talking for, yeah.
I just looked at my phone too.
We've beaten the last Eric's podcast.
I'll
It's
take it. That was
over
my
3
goal
hours.
coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned this, right? For those who are listening, we had this conversation back and forth. It's like, wow, I love the conversation with Eric, and I hope we're going to have a similar one, and here we go. And I think also what I'm realizing is, especially creators, when I talk to creators who are heavily into kettlebells, who also teach, who also coach, we have so much stuff to discuss.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to this game.
So many similarities.
Like it.
Most definitely. So, hey, Pat, let's call it a day.
Sir.
And we must do it again. I'm thinking about
to.
this. I'm thinking about, let me share this thought real quick, because I'm thinking about it. I did this not last year, but in 2022. I did a roundtable with a couple of experts, a couple of kettlebell folks. And I'm planning on doing one in January where we have like maybe 5 or 6 kettlebell folks, or maybe just 3 or 4. And I would think a very good combo would be you, Eric, Emilio, who appears on the podcast for the second time at the end of this year. And then maybe you'd be interested to do something like this?
Yeah, I would love that. That would be a lot of fun. We might go all night though. But
yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
most
most definitely.
That'd be really cool. I would enjoy that a lot.
Awesome. So I'll make sure I'll set this up to talk to you guys, and make sure we set this up to have this roundtable discussion.
Beautiful.
And yeah, Pat. So hey, man,
Pleasure.
I really appreciate your time, brother. It was awesome talking to you.
My pleasure. I appreciate you having me on.
We help busy over 40s get in shape in 30 days with only 30 minutes of kettlebell training per week. Grab your free ebook to find out how we do this. Type yes in the comments or check the link in our bio or description.